Welcome back, Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan, live from Padres Fantasy Camp. My peas are popping this morning in this headset, so I'm going to move it away a little bit so it doesn't sound so terrible. It's good to be here. Good to have you guys with us, all the Tier 1s in the chat right now. Yeah, this is our second to last day at Fantasy Camp. It does feel like we've been here for a long time, and it makes me wonder what these players feel like when they're out here for 6 weeks or so. I mean, you just got to be – you have to be champing at the bit to get out of here and get back to Petco Park or El Paso or wherever they're sending you, man. It's not that it's not a great place. It is, but you can see the walls closing in a little bit, even on our little Benny right here in the middle. Good morning, Benny.
Good morning. Yeah, I came in this morning and I go, man, I feel like I've been here a while. You guys got here 3 days before I did.
Yeah, we did.
And you're right. I mean, spring training starts in a couple of weeks, and they'll be out here, pitchers and catchers, 7, almost 8 weeks, some of them. I mean, our Sam Levitt will be here the entire time.
Sammy does
That's a long stint.
It's like his fantasy camp. But, he doesn't have to go through the drills and all that stuff. But he works his tail off out here. Sammy's going to be bringing you guys great coverage of Padres spring training. And, hey, look, as it always is around these parts, it's nothing if not interesting. It will be interesting. It's always interesting. This is not a boring team by any stretch of the imagination. This is not the Minnesota Twins. This is not the Miami Marlins. This is a different breed here, and it's always interesting. Not always good interesting, but always interesting. Paulie Reindl, the executive producer and imaging director, joins us as well. Good morning, Paulie.
Hey, how are you? What do the guys that have the contracts, the big money, what do? They just rent like a nice Airbnb for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, or whatever.
100%.
Obviously, younger guys, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 years in, they don't have that. Maybe that kind of money.
Yep.
Maybe they do. And it's important to them to spend it on a nice Airbnb. Maybe they're just where the Padres put them.
Yeah.
Obviously, the rookies, they're going to be in dorm-like apartments or something. But, Manny, Tatis.
Yeah, big
Bogey,
Airbnbs.
Those guys.
If you make enough, just hear me out. Why not just buy a spot here, and it'll be your spring training spot, and then you can watch it appreciate in value. Maybe the rest of the year you get someone to manage it as an Airbnb for other people who come in. You
make like if you're Manny,
extra cash on the
million,
side.
If you're Manny, you don't want some dill hole staying in your house when you're not
you don't have to. You just keep it up, and
you drop like $750K on a house out here.
Out here, $1.5 million, whatever. If on a golf course somewhere and got a pool in the backyard, and you're set up for when you're here at spring training. I have to imagine that at least a few of the guys have just gone and bought their own places in Arizona.
Buying a house for 6 weeks is insane. It's insane work.
But when you make that kind of money, what else are you going to do with it?
It's true.
I don't know why. That stuff always fascinates me.
Let's ask them.
We're out here.
We're going to be here. I'm just going to ask them.
When we're out here for spring training, we're in the parking lot, basically, and we see all their cars.
Yep.
So I'm like, all right, are they paying a buddy to, drive their car from Miami to Peoria and then Peoria to San Diego? Because I promise you they're not making that road trip.
I think Manny's full-time Coronado now. He may be working out. I think he maybe spent some time back there. I might have seen him working out in Miami. But
I guess when you have that kind of money, just throw it on a truck and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No, I want to ask those guys when they come out here, specifically him. So what do you do? I mean, because, dude, he's such a family guy. I'm sure Yaine and their child will be here. And
they're probably all sharing a room at the Hampton Inn.
Yeah, and they've got crony bunking up with them, and in our fantasy world, it's like, oh yeah, me and Merrill and we're all staying together. Sanders here.
You think of the movie Major League where they're all in just the one room with the bunks.
The bunks, yeah, the dorm room,
like a barracks.
They carry Wesley Snipes out.
Bro, it's funny
on the first day.
Well, it's listen, you ask,
been cut already.
You ask any of these generations, you ask the new generation, and they'll give you. They need it a certain way. You ask Randy Jones what it was like
in Yuma,
in Yuma,
1974.
That's exactly right. I mean, I've told the story before, but when he walked into the spread in there one day, he stopped at the door, and I was like, "Whoa, sorry, Randy." He's like, "I can't believe this ass," and I go, "What?" He goes, "Look at all these guys got everything they need." I go, "What did you have?" When he goes,
good Randy Jones.
He goes, "I know it hurts." He goes, I'd walk off the mound. I'd run my laps. I'd come in. They'd hand me a styrofoam cup of soup. and that's all I had the whole day. I'm like, Randy, you're joking. That they serve better food in prison. He's like, on my mother, I swear. We had a cup of soup, and that's it. What these guys got? Salads, all 3 kinds of chicken. This is unbelievable. We coddle these guys too much. Bro, you get that guy going. And you can sit for hours. Let me tell you something. Getting the chance to spend some time with that dude the last few years, I love that man like he's my own flesh and blood, like my grandfather. Him talking about last night, and we'll run you guys through it, actually. We'll save it for the next segment. Ben moderated the panel last night at Fantasy Camp with the Cy Young Award winners, and it was Mark Davis, Jeff Peavy, and Randy Jones. And, Ben, you hand the mic over to RJ, and he starts telling stories. The recall on him. I mean, how old is Randy now?
I think he just turned 75.
Turned 75. The recall on him. And I mean, I threw a 2-2 sinker to Bill Russell. He hit it to short. So-and-so threw it over to first. Then I went change up, curveball to the next guy. I'm like, this is 40 years ago. I cannot remember what we talked about on Monday or Tuesday. I really can't. Like, he is a wizard, and he's just the kindest human being. He's had some health issues, as you know, and he's still out here, man, making time for each one of these campers. He is a legend. He is exalted. I mean, he is just the best guy, and he was so funny last night. We'll talk about the Cy Young panel, which was incredible. Great job by Benny Higgins last night.
Thank you.
To shepherd everybody.
Then we headed back to our Airbnb. We did not buy a place here in
No, we did not buy a place.
Phoenix area for Fantasy Camp. We're just staying for a few days.
Did you guys buy a home with my credit card?
Yeah.
It's very reasonable. It's only $400,000. Don't worry, Adam. It'll go up in value. You're good. You're golden. And I just have to say, I would never say this before. I made the mistake of staying up for the entire San Diego State basketball game. We can talk about that as well coming up. One of the worst basketball games I have ever watched. If you're just waking up and you didn't see the end, Aztecs won, but barely, and it was one of the hardest games I have ever witnessed to watch. It was just ugly and painful.
I was going to say, I woke up this morning at about 3:30 and grabbed my phone to make sure family's okay, no emergencies or anything back home, and I flipped on X, and all I saw was 14 Ben Higgins tweets about the Aztecs game, and I'm like, oh, this must have been a banger. So I'm scrolling through. I finally find the highlight reel, which was the highlights of the game. What lasted about 4 seconds. The inbound, the dribble down, and the layup.
4.5, I believe.
4.5 seconds of Wayne McKinney, and there's your highlight.
And you stayed up for that entire thing.
It was almost a 3-hour college basketball game. There's no – I mean, you should go 4 overtimes. That college basketball game should never take 3 hours to play.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. But, as you mentioned, you found a way to win the game and essentially kind of save your season right there.
They did. They pulled it out, and we can talk about what went wrong, mostly went wrong, and a little bit that went right for the Aztecs last night. We'll talk Padres. There are some trade rumors floating around.
A buzz.
A little bit of a buzz. I mean, not like the hot stove, like the lukewarm stove.
More like
maybe.
the microwave, actually. Yeah, more like microwaving one of Randy Jones's cup of soups.
Something like that. But we can talk about that. We've got some Michael King audio talking about his arbitration hearing that's coming up. First comments that we've gotten from Michael King. Could be the first ever Padre to go to an arbitration hearing with A.J. Preller in his decade. We had Roki Sasaki being introduced by the Dodgers yesterday.
That was something.
Getting some comments from his agent, Joel Wolf,
getting
about the process.
Getting some shots in to their little brother neighbors down south for sure. I have some commentary on that. And most people on social media that I saw last night, kind of able to see right through it, honestly. And I don't think anything this guy has said, I don't think he's spoken a word of truth through the whole process. Just FYI.
He's a phony.
That's not bitter. That's not sour grapes. I don't think this cat has said one thing that's true yet. The next time he says something true will be the first time. So.
I'm shy as I'm sitting courtside with LeBron.
Who, me? I hate the attention. Hey, Bronny, doing LA signs. Stone cold, man. Again, it's just more It's more gaslighting from the LA Dodgers and all of their players. It's actually getting comical. So we'll talk about that certainly. But yeah, should be another fun morning here. Preparing to be dragged mercilessly by Bret Boone.
Oh, I'm looking forward to Bret Boone coming on.
He got in my face yesterday. You guys were here, and both of you said, "Just shut up, stop, save it for tomorrow." And he looked at me and he goes, "You don't talk." And I go, "Okay, done." He's pissed.
Let's just say Boone has some thoughts about Woodsy, the baseball player, that need to be
addressed.
That need to be aired out.
It was like
with
a
everybody.
therapy session.
It really was. He's like, "What's your problem?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" So yeah, this will be fun. You guys can share in my misery. But man, been a great week. I miss my family terribly, and was thinking about it when we were asked over the holiday and Christmas break, Ben, to look at trust and will. And both of us kind of looked at each other. We're like, do I need a trust and a will? Do I need to get something like that done? Turns out we did.
You're not really gone right now. You're only sort of gone.
Sort of gone.
But if you were ever really gone, you'd want to make sure that your family is protected. You don't want them to have to go through massive legal problems, massive probate court, maybe facing higher property taxes. You can avoid, not maybe all of it, but a lot of it by spelling out your wishes in a trust or a will. Specifically a trust if you want to avoid property tax reassessment for your house. Could be a lot bigger cost, and you can do that at trustandwill.com. Really easy process. It's all online. You just answer some questions. Very simple. I did mine in 15, 20 minutes. It really was pretty easy. If you want to get more detailed, though, you can do that as well. They have options for everybody.
Well, and listen, this is pretty important. A will or trust lets you name someone you trust to make financial or medical decisions if you are incapacitated, which could absolutely happen in both of our cases. So,
can I make your decisions?
I did not list you.
Okay.
I would trust you. I probably should have, actually. Secure your assets, protect your loved ones with Trust and Will. Get 10% off plus free shipping of your estate plan documents by visiting trustandwill.com. Use the code San Diego, one word, at checkout.
We'll talk a little bit about the Cy Young Forum last night after Kelly's first check of traffic here. Good morning. It's Bennett Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Benjamin. It's a very, very odd habit. What do you think it is? Your need to commentate.
I call it it's the announcer's disease.
It's unbelievable.
I like to do play-by-play
of everything.
Everything.
Literally everything.
Paulie comes back with his breakfast. He sits down, and Ben goes, "What'd you get?" Paulie goes, "Yogurt," and Ben goes, "Yogurt." A yogurt parfait.
Yeah, I got yogurt with some blueberries, some
Blueberries,
granola, some blackberries, and some
granola,
strawberries.
Blackberries.
And he's just
strawberries,
repeating everything.
Spoon, bowl.
Think of it as vocal exercises.
Can you do those internally?
No, I don't think so. You really have to enunciate
Chewing,
everything out.
swallowing.
The same reason why I, point out the Old Country Buffet.
Yes, bacteria,
Red
cultures.
Robin, Chick-fil-A.
It is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, I was going to say, I think you're going to get me in a little bit of trouble. It's not your fault, but we had our Cy Young panel last night, as you mentioned, at the end of camp yesterday, and I moderated with the three Cy Young winners who were here, Jake Peavy, Mark Davis, and Randy Jones, and you suggested a question.
Yeah.
It was, what was the guy that owned you, and who was the guy that you felt like you owned?
Yeah, do you remember one that stuck out?
And I did a little research to try to, help it out. And I have that I'm just compelled to kind of be overly honest. And as I was doing the research, I learned that the guy that Mark Davis may have owned more than anybody else was Terry Kennedy.
TK.
Who was here.
Yeah.
And I called him out. It was like 1 for 21 in his career against Mark Davis. And I'm worried that
I don't think
TK is going to.
He wasn't here when it happened.
Oh, he didn't hear me say that?
No,
I couldn't tell. It was a big room. A lot of people were in there.
I think you're in good shape there.
But it was fun last night. Jake's great. Randy's great. And we met Mark Davis, had him on the air yesterday, which was really cool. I had never met him before, but it was fun to get to know a little bit about him as well.
To hear Randy Jones, when you mentioned the one that Randy Jones owned, I mean, the place actually ripped up in applause because it was Pete Rose.
Yeah.
He owned
183 lifetime average against Randy Jones, and he then came through with an incredible story I had never heard.
Yeah, unbelievable. He said I'd owned him. He just couldn't hit me. And, so one time he came up and he decided to bat left-handed. And he's a switch hitter, and Randy was a left-handed pitcher. And Randy, from the mound, he goes, "You sure you want to do this?" Pete Rose goes, "Shut up and pitch." Randy Jones goes, "Okay." He goes, "I went curveball, curveball, curveball." He's out. Struck him out. I was like, God,
didn't even let the bat off his shoulder.
Didn't take the bat off his shoulder. There's reams of those stories out here. And Randy is the master at telling them. He talked about, pitching in those 1 hour and 28 minute games and whatever. He said the umpires loved him. He said they knew with me on the mound, I was going to be around the zone, so they'd give me a little bit off the zone. And he said I had the uncanny ability to throw it to the same spot 10 times in a row, which, if you've ever pitched at any level, is impossible. There's very few guys in history that can do it the way that guys like Randy could. And he said he said something really interesting to me, too, because as baseball in the modern era, as we've seen it, you see the manager get all puckered up if he allows his pitcher to go through the third time in the order. So they get the charts out and they start looking and the bullpen phone's ringing. Randy goes, "Not me, man." He goes, "I love the fourth time through the order." He goes, "By then, my arm hurt so bad I couldn't throw but 72-mile-an-hour sinker, and there's not a big leaguer alive that's going to wait on a 72-mile-an-hour sinker. So I'd throw that son of a bitch up there, and they'd pound it in the ground, and I was done." And I went, man, that is a different era. Can you imagine a pitcher letting a manager let a guy go through the fourth time through the order? No.
In his Cy Young Award season, Randy threw 315 innings and made 40 starts.
Yeah.
So you'll never see that again in baseball. But, he's talking about just throwing slower and slower. It's kind of why when, a position player comes into pitch, sometimes they have, surprisingly effective innings because big league batters just can't. They just can't wait that long, on such slow pitches. If they're not used to it, it's a different style of batting.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you almost feel like every staff should have one guy like that. And just the change of pace guy. But I don't know, man. It was awesome. PV is great. One of the most dynamic guys that you will ever have a chance to talk to. just telling stories. He told the Taint story. And
I felt like I had to lead him down that path.
That was great.
You know,
it was great.
I'm sure not everybody in there had heard it before. And Jake tells it so well of his trip to Japan and seeing what Roger Clemens did to get ready, even for a exhibition game with the liniment all over everywhere, including the undercarriage.
Icy hot, essentially. Yeah. But it's like medical grade icy hot. And they have some here in the trainer's room. It's like Thai food, level 1, level 2, level 3. Like, you can't even find this stuff. It's so hot, and Roger Clemens, from head to toe, would cover his body.
Neck down, and I mean, Paulie says icy hot. Icy hot's like Cocoa Pebbles compared to the real stuff that you have to use a glove to apply. And so Peavy was watching him, and he goes, "What are you doing?" Clemens goes, "Man, game like this, exhibition game in Japan," he goes, I got to get up for it, right? I need to get up for this. He goes, I don't want to feel comfortable at all out there. I want to be mad. I want to be pissed off. This will do it. And sure enough, he was. So Peavy gets back to San Diego, and he goes into the clubhouse, and he says, all right, well, if it's good enough for Roger Clemens, it's good enough for me. He said, but I don't want the full body. He goes, I know where I can put it that'll, just like Clemens did. He goes, so I moved everything out of the way, got a little dollop, whoop, right there where the sun don't shine, and he goes, needless to say, by the first inning, I was pretty pissed off and agitated, and I went, that is the most hardcore thing I've ever heard.
Also had Andy Ashby presiding over Fantasy Camp Kangaroo Court last night.
Oh, boy.
You didn't see me. I was standing in the back watching.
I could hear you rolling your eyes, though.
Well, I was surprised because neither of you got called out really during Kangaroo Court, and I know that it happened in previous years, but you somehow slid under the radar this time. It is it's fun. I think it's one of the aspects of camp that people look forward to, getting basically teased and fined by the big leaguers as they all come up and bring their cases. Mud and Loretta and everybody go up and they pick someone out from camp and pick a violation, something against the ball player code essentially that you get fined for in Kangaroo Court.
You do. I do feel like some people use it as open mic night at their local comedy club, and it's usually the same. It's usually the same four suspects that do it, and it drags a little bit after a while, and some of the violations are pretty ridiculous, but it's part of the game.
If you wanted to really organize things, there should be like an application process, and only the the 5 or 6 best cases get
allegedly
to the docket.
I believe that's how they did
it
it this year.
Okay.
It used to be
it was a free-for-all.
Free-for-all, and we would always get called out, especially it's like, oh, you guys missed a meeting. Yeah, we're working.
We're on the
job.
Air,
in the hallway.
You know that.
Woodsy popped out. Ha, remember that? $20 fine.
Yeah. If I had to pay a fine for every time I popped out, probably I'd owe like $3,000. So,
but now apparently everything was submitted to Tom and Bill and Callie, the admins here, and then they kind of sifted through them. So that at least helped.
Thank God. No, I know, man. I know it drags a little bit, and again, it's the usual suspects that are like, hello, my baby. Take my wife, please. I can't take my wife anywhere. Like it gets a little cumbersome, but some good cases, some decent cases out there. It's always weird to see campers attack the coaches. That's the one that makes me go, are you thick? Like, do you not know? Like, you don't go after your coaches, dummy. They come after you. But some of these guys had no fear.
All right, let's take a quick timeout. When we come back, I want to talk about the trade rumor written about in The Athletic yesterday, both from the Padres' perspective and from the Minnesota Twins side of things as well. And we can jump into what happened last night in Colorado Springs as the Aztec season was pretty much on the brink, coming down to the wire in overtime against Airforce. That's coming up next.
And quickly, before we sign off for commercial, I wanted to wish a very warm congratulations to our buddy Mark Wilkins, who is a father this morning. His son, Miles John Wilkins, was born early this morning. Baby looks healthy and happy, and Mark's been a contributor to this show, and congratulations and love you. I'm very proud of you guys and happy for you.
Underdog?
Right now?
Yes.
All right. The Underdog is here. If you are in the state of California, you can now play Underdog Fantasy. I've been playing it for a while. I've taken a couple days off, again, because basketball is not really my game. It's not really the game that I like to pick and play fantasy picks with. So I'm waiting for the NFL playoffs, much like a lot of you guys are. That's going to go down this weekend. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. But they've got over 5 million happy players, $2 billion won. They make it fun and easy to cash in on all of your favorite athletes' performances. So you know how daily fantasy works. I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to go over 183. I'm actually going to go higher than 183.5 yards, right? Because I think he will have a decent game. You guys know exactly how this works. So hook up some entries. You'll have a shot to win real cash prizes all playoff long. Create entries with all football picks, or you can mix and match. You got the farmers going on right now. Pick some winners there. So, Underdog, the best place to play Pick'em. Download the app, sign up with the promo code WOODS, deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code WOODS. Must be 18 and over, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. If you're concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.com.
Well, the Padres could be closing in on a potential solution for their catching shortage this offseason. According to a new report from The Athletic's Dennis Lin and old friend Dan Hayes, who used to cover the Padres for the North County Times and now covers the Minnesota Twins for The Athletic, the Padres and Twins are in at least some quiet discussions about a trade that would involve veteran catcher Christian Vasquez coming to San Diego. Vasquez is a name, Woods, that I think we brought up fairly early in the offseason as one of the few potentially tradable catchers that was out there, and there's a reason why he is available. He did not have a particularly good season last year for the Twins.
I feel like he's been rumored here for the last few years. One of those guys that seemingly AJ was interested in, maybe at a couple of deadlines potentially, and now obviously with him being with the Twins. Padres signed Martin Maldonado. They've got Luis Camposano. Christian Vasquez, as you mentioned, you're seeing a decline in production the last few years for him. But, look, as it says here in the article, how much of Vasquez's contract San Diego would need to absorb in a possible exchange. He makes – okay, now Dylan Cease. Okay, the Padres would like to keep Cease, but some rival officials believe A.J. Preller will ultimately have little choice but to move the pending free agent and his almost $14 million salary. Now, you can't go Dylan Cease for Christian Vasquez.
No. When I read the piece as well, I kind of got I had to double take and go. They're not talking about Dylan Cease for Christian Vasquez. They are not.
Why did they throw Cease in there?
I'm not exactly sure. I think other executives are trying to wish it into being because obviously there's a lot out there that would love to have a Dylan Cease. Vasquez, the Padres actually looked to sign him as a free agent before he signed a 3-year deal with the Twins prior to the 2023 season. He's got 1 year left on that deal for $10 million this year, which isn't, in modern baseball salaries, an exorbitant amount. But last year he hit just .221 with a .248 on-base percentage, .327 slugging, 7 homers, 27 runs batted in. Offensively, that slash line is actually worse than Luis Camposano, who hit .227 with a .281 on-base percentage and a .361 slugging percentage. Now, Vasquez is probably a good upgrade defensively at least and is used to the rigors of being a starting catcher over the course of the season. And, he could still bounce back and have a good year. Ultimately, there's just very little out there. We've talked about, free agency, pretty much all the catchers who you would consider even, possible starting options are gone. And the trade market is pretty thin as well. Vasquez is one of the only guys out there. So I think ultimately what you're looking at in this piece is that a little game of chicken. The Twins don't want Vasquez. They don't want to pay him that $10 million.
$10 million.
For this year, yeah. But ultimately, if they don't trade him, they're going to have to pay him the whole thing. A.J. Preller knows this. So he would like to acquire Vasquez, but he would also like to have the Twins pay off, I would say, a good chunk of that salary so it doesn't, go against.
Like half?
More
than half? Less than half?
I would assume that's the with Luis Arraez last year, it was nearly the whole thing,
other
than the minimum. I'm sure AJ would love to acquire Vasquez and only have to pay the minimum.
Didn't we get paid to take Luis Arraez?
Yeah, I think we actually did make money.
The Twins would probably go, we'll knock $1 million or $2 million off, but you should pay like $8 million or something. And now they're trying to find a middle ground somewhere in between. I don't think the prospect going back or whatever you would trade would be something overly significant because, again, the Twins really just want to shed themselves of that $10 million and allocate it elsewhere. The Padres need a catcher, but they can't afford an expensive catcher, which is why these trade talks have been categorized as somewhat slow-moving on both sides.
Yeah, I will say this, man. I mean, look, you got to remember where we are. Okay, we're in Peoria at the Padres spring training facility, and the rumor mill is a buzz here about guys got some word last night that Jerks and Profar and the Atlanta Braves are matching up and look to be a really, really nice fit, and that could be something that potentially drops in the next couple of days.
I'd seen some Braves Profar connections the last couple of weeks.
I saw it way early
in the offseason.
In this offseason. But
now the Braves had gone out and they haven't done a ton this offseason, but I don't know if they're desperate for – But Jurickson would be an upgrade for them.
Be a great player for him. And you feel like that would be a place where he would do pretty well, I think.
Playing with Ozzy Albies, fellow Curaçaoan.
You're crushing this.
Caribbean.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know, man. That's exactly that's allegedly the rumor out there. I hope that that's not the case. I do hope that he comes back to San Diego, but based on what the hubbub is around here, looks like he and the Braves are a good fit.
And the Padres still are in need of a left fielder. Jurickson right now would be the best option. In fact, in free agency, I don't want to say only option, but there's not a lot. After Anthony Santander signed, Jurickson was the kind of the last best remaining outfield piece. That's
weird.
There in free agency.
It's weird because all I ever hear is how easy it is to acquire a corner outfielder. I hear it like a mantra every offseason. Oh, don't worry about that. You can always find a corner outfielder. Great. Show me one. Can I have one? Is there one available that we can afford that is a good fit and is productive? No, you can always find one. You can always find a first baseman. Okay, well, why is Jake Cronenworth or Luis Ariz our first baseman this year? Those are the things you always hear. I think people just like to say them because it's not true.
Well, AJ's a very up-the-middle GM. Always has been.
Catcher, short, second, center.
Drafting, international signings, trades, free agents. We know. Shortstop, center, catcher with Ethan Salas, pitcher and a little bit of second base. Got Manny at third. Other than that, though, the corners until they moved Jackson. Jackson Merrill got moved out to center, and it's until Tatis got moved out to right. The corners have always been a question. First base has been a bit of a question.
Yep.
That's always been kind of the last thing that AJ does to address his team's needs.
Yeah, and people in the chat saying, "Hey, look, good landing spot for Jurickson if that's in fact where he goes." I did see that he doesn't play well outside of San Diego. Yeah, listen, he didn't play well in Colorado. And Colorado, I think, is one that you have to look at and say, that could be an anomaly. He played well in Oakland. He played well in Texas. He didn't play as well as he did in San Diego, certainly, but he played well. He didn't play well in Colorado. A lot of guys don't play well in Colorado. It's Colorado.
It's usually the pitchers who don't
do
well in Colorado.
What do you play it for? I think Jurickson's a guy that needs to play for something. And if he goes to Atlanta, he'll be playing for something, 100%. And Janine makes a really good point. The Padres, conversely, don't play well without him. And he thrives in San Diego. We thrive when he's on the team. So that would be a loss that you would have to.
The question has never changed about Jurickson this entire offseason. I worry about what the Padres look like without him because I've seen it before. Missing his leadership, missing his presence, and
his irritancy.
And his production.
Yeah.
But I also worry about massively overpaying.
Correct.
For Jurickson as well. For a team that can't afford a lot right now. You certainly can't afford to overpay for a guy who's going to hit, 250 with 12 home runs, which is very much in the realm of possibility for Jurickson Profar this year. He may duplicate last year and hit 280 with 25 home runs, and then you go, yeah, we should be paying him. But do we know that he's going to do that again? Because he hadn't until last year, his entire career. He's always been a good glue guy, could hit, here and there, picking his spots, but was not an everyday player until last year in his career at all over a decade.
Well, listen, if you don't find a way to bring Jurickson back, and now you're talking about Christian Vasquez as your backstop, it does feel, these are. You always want your team to be so set up that you're just adding complementary pieces. And when you start adding complementary pieces as your actual free agent position players, that's when it gets a little dicey. That's when it gets tough. And I do submit and do agree with you that this team won't look the same, come July 31st. We all know that. It's the San Diego Padres. But that being said, when you're adding complementary pieces as starters, but you could say the same thing last year. You could have said the same thing about Jurickson Profar.
Kyle Higashioka
was a complimentary
piece.
A throw-in, if you will.
Profar was a throw-in. They ended up both being absolutely essential everyday players by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I don't want to make some correlation in that article about Dylan Cease for Christian Vasquez. I don't think that's – I think that would be absolute I think it would be lunacy.
That's insanity. Yeah.
Right, lunacy. And even if they throw in prospects and things like that, no.
You can get a lot more for Dylan Cease.
I think you can. So yeah, I don't want to add complimentary pieces and say, well, look at us, we made some moves and we're good to go, and we'll just roll and see what happens. That'd be kind of a tough pill to swallow.
Don't forget, the biggest fan contest returns on January 27th. This coming Monday. Our grand prize is a night in the Odyssey Suite with 20 tickets for you and your friends at a future Padres game. All you have to do is register your name at 973thefan, and listen when we announce names each day at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5:30 p.m. for your chance to qualify. All right, we'll check traffic, and then I want to talk about the Aztecs game last night that kept me up. It actually even made it hard to get to sleep. It was stressful and just annoying. It was an annoying basketball game, and we'll get to that next year on 97.3 The Fan. So fresh off their loss to UNLV at Viejas Arena on Saturday, the Aztecs hit the road last night to resume their Mountain West schedule against Airforce in Colorado Springs. A couple of things working against San Diego State last night, Woodsy.
Say it.
Well,
say it.
Your favorite word.
Say it.
I don't know what you're referring to.
I want you to say it.
I was going to say that they were 1-6 at altitude.
There it is.
Ding,
ding, ding, ding, ding, ding.
Altitude.
There it is.
Altitude?
I said if you could make love to altitude, you would do it. The altitude excuse.
Now, for a lot of the game, I thought, all right, San Diego State's going to end up winning by 10 to 20 points.
I like tickling you when I get you
which
on
they
something.
were favored by 13.5, so it wasn't that surprising.
You both get it, Polly.
I think they were up by about
He
a
said
little meatball.
altitude, our little meatball.
As many as 8 in the first half. They stretched it out to 10 in the second half. But they just could not stay out of foul trouble. First half, second half, within the first 7 or 8 minutes, Airforce was in the bonus.
Now,
and
were they BS calls?
No.
I saw, okay, good.
No,
good officiated.
No.
Okay.
So there's a difference between. I didn't disagree necessarily with the calls. It's not like they were whistling phantom fouls, but if you're going to be that ticky-tack all game long, and Aztecs are moving and they're reaching for their steals, and you bump a guy, okay, there's a foul. There's a foul. Yeah. But this is how the Aztecs have always played defense. And generally, they don't get whistled for, what was it again, 50 something. I mean, it was an insane number of fouls in the game last night. 55 fouls total, 31 on the Aztecs in a game that ended up going overtime because Airforce actually had the lead for a lot of the second half. The Aztecs fought back, took the lead late in regulation, then Airforce tied it up, and they ended up going to overtime. Taj DeGorville had a chance to win it at the buzzer, but Miles Bird fouled out, just 8 points, 0 for 6 on three-pointers, had a tough game. Nick Boyd fouled out, just 6 points, 1 for 5 on three-pointers, so they weren't getting any of their normal production from guys. In fact, if it weren't for Jared Coleman-Jones, his 14 points and 6 rebounds, and Taj DeGorville, his 11 points and 7 rebounds, Aztecs would have lost this game for sure. So they get to overtime without most of their guys. They're Kimo Ferrari's got to play. They're putting DeMarshe Johnson in because they've got so much foul trouble. Airforce can't make a basket, though. They simply are living at the free throw line. They made 44 free throw attempts, making 30 of them over the game.
Wow.
The Aztecs were 17 of 27. So the game was just entirely played at the
line.
foul line, the entire
so
game, and it was so hard to watch. The Aztecs didn't play well. They were outshot, out-rebounded, out-assisted, just like against UNLV, which is a huge concern against a team that is almost 300 in the metrics in Airforce, one of the worst teams in college basketball. Hadn't won since December. Had lost 8 in a row. Hadn't beat the Aztecs since 2019. This is a loss. If they lose this game, their NCAA tournament hopes are basically coming down to the Mountain West tournament.
And you got to win it.
It's just this would be a devastating loss. It's a somewhat damaging win, even if you pull it out.
It wasn't a good win, but a win is a win. And it was a season-saving.
So they're
win.
up for now. They in overtime. They're up 2. They've given up 5 free throws, but Airforce hasn't made a basket. Airforce gets the ball back though with 15, 20 seconds left. Aztecs play great defense. Ball, miss a 3. If they get this rebound, the game is over. But, of course, what happens? On the rebound, both go for it. Aztecs bump into them. Whistle. Foul again. And, of course, they've been in the double bonus for an hour and a half. So go to the free throw line for 2 shots with a chance to tie it and go to double overtime. Kid makes the first one. Second one clangs, goes way off the backboard, clangs again. Aztecs don't do a good job boxing out. Air Force Kai tips it in for the go-ahead basket. So now San Diego State is down 1 point with 4.5 seconds left on the clock. Dutch calls a timeout. All right, we've seen this earlier in the season against Utah State when they hit a 3 and the Aztecs had a few seconds left. You remember what happened in those last few seconds against Utah State?
No.
Yes, because I was there.
Wayne McKinney III had the ball, play kind of broke up. Didn't go hard to the basket, ended up pulling up settling for a jump or a 3.
He was like 6 feet behind the line. They had a timeout. Everyone's like, call a timeout.
Ends up short, off the rim. Aztecs lose. This time they call the timeout. They get the ball to Wayne McKinney again. But this time, Wayne McKinney does not hesitate. He goes hard. Jared Coleman-Jones sets a screen.
Of the year.
Yeah, knocks the Air Force kid on his butt. I'm glad they didn't call a foul. I'm surprised they didn't with the whistles. Wayne McKinney never stops. As fast as he can, gets to the basket, lays it off his fingertips with maybe 0.2 left on the clock. Horn sounds, ball rolls off the backboard into the net. Aztecs win by 1.
I mean, the guy under the basket for Air Force was like, here you go. He's like, here you go. Wide open layup.
And Wayne McKinney, who had no points in the first half, finished with 18 points.
Woo!
All in the second half and overtime to save the season for San Diego State last night.
Yeah, it's one you want to build off of, right?
Oh, no. This is one you want to forget, I think, if you're Brian Dutcher. I mean, for Wayne, he wants to build on that. Everybody else, if you play another game like that against any other opponent, you lose.
But build off the...
That's don't even shower. Grab your stuff.
Let's get out of here.
Get on the bus. We are getting as far away from here as possible.
It's the altitude.
I mean... You can't deny the record at altitude is bad. And, both teams by overtime looked dead. It was like they were all slow. They were all exhausted. It was just, like I said, a 3-hour almost basketball game, which is insane. The one thing I will give the Aztecs credit for, which I thought was pretty amazing, playing 45 minutes of college basketball on the road in altitude, they only committed 6 turnovers. And that was the reason they won the game. They did not give up possessions. I think Air Force had 16. Aztecs had 6, and that was the difference in the game. Season is still okay, but there's nothing but warning signs right now for San Diego State. What was a clear tournament team a week ago now is very much a marginal bubble tournament team at this moment. Now they could start playing well again. Maybe this is just a midseason lull. Maybe they will start playing better in February and March. But right now, they're playing their worst basketball of the season, no doubt about it.
You stayed up till what time watching that? 11 o'clock?
It was Arizona time. Yeah, it was almost 11 by the time the game ended.
Jeez.
Aztecs will play at Nevada, another road game at altitude on Saturday.
Tickle. A little meatball.
All right, we'll come back. I see some coaches coming in, so we can have some guests. I also want to get to that Michael King arbitration audio from the Corey Kluber podcast, all coming up next on The Fan. We have a problem. You have a problem.
I do?
Well, we all have a problem.
You've got a problem.
Especially
you've got a problem.
Radio hosts have a problem.
You've got a problem.
Everybody has podcasts nowadays. Everybody. I didn't even know Corey Kluber had a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Casa de Club.
Casa de Club. I watched the very first one, and he reminds me of A.J. Hawk on Pat McAfee in that he sits there.
Well, who does he have that talks? He's just sitting there.
He has like a little lackey there.
A lackey.
And they zoom in on his face, and he just really cool. No, Niebla was great. No, he was. He was good. And I watched, and maybe he's gotten better, but I did hear a little bit of this Michael King stuff. It's pretty good.
So, I think Ruben Niebla is kind of a bit of the connection between Kluber and King. And so Michael King appeared on the Casa de Club podcast this week, and it's the first time we have heard from Michael King since he and the Padres were unable to reach terms on the one-year arbitration deal, his final year of arbitration eligibility, and had to exchange the numbers and are, potentially careening toward the first ever arbitration hearing for A.J. Preller. Let's see, what were the numbers again? Michael King has asked for $8.8 million. The Padres have countered with $7.325 million, so about $1.5 million apart. And here's what Michael King said about this process on the Corey Kluber podcast.
I think my case was just different because I was a reliever for my first.
So I was going to ask you.
4 years.
Yeah.
And so, if you look at the guys that I'm similar to this year, they all have like 400 more innings than me. So it's obviously I feel like I deserve
it's a unique case.
Close to that, but I also am coming from a different number. So we'll see how it is.
So in most cases, would a player go off of 3-4 years of substance, whereas for you became a starter in 23, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so you have like a year and a half to go off of. So you're trying to find guys that have done that, or you just put yourself up against a starter and his last year and a half of stats?
I don't want to give my secrets away.
There's probably some of both who are right.
But both, because like there are still starters that you can look at that had some injuries in the past, so their innings are actually similar to mine, even though they have 5 straight years of being a starter. And me being a reliever, my innings and bulk is a lot less than everybody else. So you can look at those types of guys, but then you also, what I'm trying to do is just see guys that I was similar to this year, and they got X amount of raise, and I think that I deserve that because I had the same year as them, and it shouldn't matter. Like they're going to be coming from a much higher salary, so their total salary is going to be a lot higher, but I feel like I deserve the amount of raise.
All right, so this is interesting to me because I think as a fan, you hear about like arbitration. All right, it's based on performance, and you get a raise based on how well you did the previous season. And you look at Michael King and you go, that guy did awesome. I mean, he's got to get, one of the biggest raises, right? And he's going to be a hugely important piece for the Padres. He's like an ace, a Cy Young potentially candidate coming up here. So why wouldn't he win his arbitration hearing? Why shouldn't the Padres just give him what he wants to get? But as Michael King pointed out himself, that's not how an arbitration hearing works. It's not about how good necessarily you think the player is going to be, and it's not necessarily even exactly how good was he last year. It's a complicated formula that involves an entire careers of production.
Yep.
And the tricky part, and A.J. Preller knows this as well, which is why I think largely he agrees with players. He knows the formula. He knows how it works. He goes, okay, this is what this guy's going to get. I look at comparisons of other players with similar numbers in the past. This is what they've gotten in their arbitration, so this is what I'm paying my guy this year. But with King, there isn't a lot of data. Yeah. There's not a lot of other guys who have gone the path that he has at this point in his career during arbitration to go from a sort of okay, decent reliever whose spot started a couple times for the Yankees to
stud
every fifth day, making
super stud.
Super stud. What we all know he deserves a raise and a pretty significant one, but how much is it?
Yeah.
And AJ doesn't know, and Michael King doesn't know, and they're kind of guessing, and so they've both landed on these numbers.
Well, and listen, this is not something AJ Preller does. It's just not something he does. It's not something he's ever done. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, same old AJ, same old Padres, when they've never done it. It sucks that this is the first one. It sucks that it's Michael King. Michael King will be pitching for the Padres this year, and we all know that that's happening. But you want certainly a happy Michael King, and if it came down to $1 million, you would think it'd be a no-brainer to just say, boom, let's get it done.
I mean, there's always got to be a point where you say enough is enough. Yeah. I mean, 8.8 to me sounds reasonable, but the Padres offer doesn't sound like what an insult that is at 7.3.
Do we have more of that audio, or is that all we have?
I think that's all we have on this one. Yeah.
There was a clip, and he was talking to Kluber, and he goes, "Look, I mean, it's." Somebody asked him about the process, and he said, "Yeah, I mean, I'm basically gonna have to go in there and prove I'm worth $1 more than they say, and if not, then I'll be where I'm at."
Yeah,
and,
you have to.
It is what it is.
It's worth $1 more of the midpoint again of the two figures, so it's $8.0625 million. And if the arbitrators think he's worth $8.0626, then he gets 8.8. And if the arbitrators think he's worth 8.0624, then he gets 7.325.
He didn't. People in the chat are like, "Oh, you could tell he's pissed." He didn't seem pissed to me.
So.
And there's another part of the clip. If you go watch it, he doesn't seem mad at all. Like not even a little bit. But again, he knows he's getting a good raise because his salary's coming up in ARB. He's going to get a good raise. If you would hate to haggle and lose some, you're not going to lose him, but you would hate to have thorn in the side of a guy over what is not a lot of money. Really at all.
Remember, though, arbitration is not free agency. Free agency is where players really cash in. I mean, yesterday, the Guardian signed Paul Sewald to a $7 million one-year deal. Michael King and Paul Sewald, Michael King is much more valuable.
Oh, 1,000%.
So much more. But Paul Sewald is a free agent. And, that is a completely different set of factors when it comes to determining salary than arbitration.
Yeah.
The teams have a lot more, at least power in the arbitration side of things than they do in the free agency side.
Janine says, I was very surprised he did not seem mad when I watched it. I wasn't. I wasn't surprised. Number one, just knowing Michael King a tiny bit. The other thing is knowing that all these guys know this is not a personal thing. Because, again, I don't get the sense that this is going to be one of those where they go in and it's, well, Michael, we asked you to do something and you didn't do it. I think this is strictly our numbers. Your number was off. Our number was off. What can we do? This is not a Josh Hader situation.
The three of us, we don't have a whole lot to work off of when it comes to arbitration cases. We've never been in this room. We have no idea really what it's like, except for what we've heard from maybe like Josh Hader is always the first example
you think of.
that comes to mind. Like, God dang, that sounds awful.
You wouldn't do the 4-out save, and we're going to bang you
but
for it.
But there are scenarios, I think, right, where the player is not necessarily going to be upset or offended. They know this is just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, and they get it. This is a business, and he did not seem. And again, you read all the body language, you listen to his voice, whatever. Go watch the whole clip. He sounds like listen, I got to go in there and prove it. But again, AJ Preller has no.
Like, do you picture Michael King on
pissed?
April 1st or whatever, March 28th, upset?
I don't.
With the team.
I really don't. I don't. But, I don't know what's going on in his home. But
keep in mind, he made, around 3 last year?
Yeah.
So
he's getting a $5 million
The difference
raise.
is he's either getting a $4.3 million raise or a $5.8 million raise.
Which is significant, certainly.
There's significant difference, but both are in the real world, that's insanely good news for anybody. You're picking between a really, really good option and a fantastic option.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be one of those two. You already know it, so you feel pretty comfortable where you are.
Yeah, and you want him with good vibes. You want him feeling good about his spot in the organization. And honestly, without Michael King, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So I hope that they can get this thing done amicably. But yeah, he's done everything this organization has asked of him, and then some. He was and that's what he wanted to do.
But you can't lose him.
Can't lose him.
You can't. If you lose the case, you don't lose the player. Right. You win the case. Nothing really changes. He's on a 1-year deal. It's just to be determined what the salary for that deal is. The only damage you can possibly do
is pissing him off.
Is mentally.
Yeah.
Is the Josh Hader thing with the Brewers that Paulie brought up, that it got contentious, and
happened with Devin Williams.
He was offended.
That's how they do it.
They were offended by the things that the person arguing the arbitration hearing on the team side had to say about the player.
I mean, again, you have to when you talk about AJ Preller too, like you have to look at his 10-year track record of never going to ARB. He doesn't want to do this. He loathes doing this. He hates this, and I'm sure this is embarrassing for him.
If I was Michael King, I'd also be on my pausing. Like, am I totally out of line here?
Yeah, what did I do?
Because AJ has never done this before, and
I know.
What's going on here, and why am I the one that didn't? Am I reading this situation entirely wrong?
So I guess having heard that about AJ and how he doesn't like this, he's never had to do this. Is it okay for fans to go, is it this desperate? These are times this dire?
Yeah, times this
the first one is over $1.5 million.
I know.
We're not talking $10 million.
Right, we're not that far apart.
If you are trying to, keep below the luxury tax level, though, every dollar is probably more important than it's ever been for AJ Preller.
Yeah.
Like, the spare change between the couches could be the difference between signing a couple of backups and not being able to sign a couple of backups. So in that sense, yes, that might be part of the reason why this is the first time he may ever go to an arbitration hearing. This segment of Bennett Woods is brought to you by Robert Half. 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Our recruiting professionals utilize an award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today.
Is this his last year of ARB, by the way?
Yep, and then he's a free agent.
He's free agent.
And that's what happens after ARB. You go into free agency.
Yeah, maybe not the best look on the last year of ARB, to go to ARB.
Don't know that our next guest ever made it to the ARB level or free agency, but he's here at fantasy camp for the first time.
He might as well be a camper because he has been wide-eyed this entire time.
You're absolutely right. And
every time I've talked to him, he's like, this is awesome, dude.
I heard him last night, like, wearing out Mark Davis about, like, all right, so what was your preparation like? I'm like, he's still so fascinated by the game, and I love
Our man Bill Johnson, who's helping run fantasy camp, was telling us yesterday, I think off the air, he was like, oh, yeah, Greg Garcia, these are his idols that he grew up watching. So he's literally like a camper.
East County's own Greg Garcia is going to join us when we come back. First, I want to tell you about Prize Picks. So I often tell you about my wins, transparency. Last night, I was watching the college basketball. I had Miles Bird more than 2.5 three-pointers. He didn't even make a single one. So that one went down. But guess what? I took advantage of a $10 free play on Prize Picks, so I didn't lose anything because they have all kinds of different promotions that you can play with daily fantasy, over 10 million users, billions of dollars awarded. This week, one of the promotions you can take advantage of in the big game between Washington and Philadelphia, you've got Jaden Daniels. 1 passing yard is all you need to nail one of those squares. Combine it with between 1 and 5 other players, and you can win big. Real money with Prize Picks. It's very easy to play. It's very easy to download the app. Use code KWFN. You're going to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup with Prize Picks. Again, code KWFN. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup at Prize Picks. You can find other options. Jalen Hurts, 31 rushing yards, more or less. Will Saquon Barkley rush for a touchdown? They've got it all set up for this weekend at Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. I will remind you that Don't Do This is brought to you every day by Trust and Will. Don't leave your entire estate, house, kids, and life savings up to chance if and when you die. Do set up a trust or will online at trustandwill.com. It's a lot more affordable than you think. Visit trustandwill.com for more info. Now, we are actually going to push back Don't Do This as we've done most of the week, because this is a great time to talk to some of the camp coaches here at Padres Fantasy Camp, and we got another one sitting down with us right now. I always love it when a guy who grew up in San Diego gets to play for the Padres, comes back and gets to be part of the organization. Greg Garcia is with us here on 97 Through the Fan on Ben and Woods. Greg, good to have you back on with us on the show.
Be here. Thanks for having me on, and I'm having a great week so far.
Yeah, man, there are a lot of finely tuned athletes out here. Lots of finely tuned athletes.
I feel like I might have seen AJ up at the second level. Just he's scouting out there. There's some guys. There's some talent.
Times are lean, and he will canvass the earth to look for some talent. I think this would be a colossal waste of his time. I really do. How's it been for you?
Man, this has been great. I mean, just getting to interact with the campers, and you have guys that have been back to this thing for 6 years now. We've got first time guys like our buddy Jeff West, Tier 1,
one of our Tier 1s. Yeah,
and he's been. This is the first time he's ever played baseball
ever,
and he's performing
in his life.
Yep, pitched yesterday, did a great job for us, and then. For me personally, being in that coach's locker room, you got Wally Joyner walking right here. This is such a joy for me. Somebody was saying in that clubhouse, there's over 220 big league service time.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm kind of like, I got five of that, but you're welcome, boys.
Crazy.
All those guys, 16, 18, 14 years in the big leagues, and the wealth of knowledge that they have. I'm just soaking it all up and really enjoying my time.
Well, you really are. And we're talking to Greg Garcia here. I heard you last night talking to Mark Davis about, hey, so what was your preparation like? And how did you attack this hitter, that hitter? And I'm going, why is he asking this? Because it doesn't. But then I'm like, oh, he's like us. He wants 100%. To know from these guys, how they went about their business.
I'm fascinated by that stuff, especially the guys that had success. He was a Cy Young winner, so he did something different, and I wanted to know that. And then when I'm talking to the campers now, I'm saying go up and ask those types of questions because I think it's so fascinating to hear their stories, their perspectives on things, and you'll see a lot of correlation, one way or the other with a lot of these guys. So it's been awesome.
And it helps you understand the game a little bit,
100%.
When you're watching the game.
And Greg, talking to Greg Garcia, you're obviously much closer to your career than some of the other coaches are. When you come back here, how do you feel? I mean, at peace still, or what? I mean,
I've seen it. He's antsy.
No, they tease me a little bit because I think the team took us out to dinner, and Gary was making fun of me because he's like, "Man, you're younger than every camper on our team. This isn't right," And I was telling Gary, I said, not all of us were good enough to play into our late 30s. Okay, the game told me I was done playing, but no, it's been a joy, and I'm having fun out here. Like I said, just being able to interact with the campers and the coaches has been a great time.
What was your favorite moment when you were a player and you got to be here as a player? Like, what were some of the moments that stood out for you?
I think. To me, it always goes back to the clubhouse, whether it was in St. Louis or with San Diego, getting to interact with some of the veteran guys. When I came over here, it was really connecting with like an Eric Hosmer or Manny Machado or these guys, and Craig Stam and Kirby Yates. With St. Louis, it was, the Adam Wainwrights, the Skip Schumachers, those guys, and just learning from them, because you learn so much in that room just by talking baseball, talking life. So showing up with the boys, getting ready, and it was always a good time. Spring training was always a lot of fun.
They always talk about, having guys that show you how to be a big leaguer.
Yeah.
And you remember when you started, when you got into the big leagues for the first time, it's got to be the worst experience of your life. I mean, really, it's the best, but it's also like, I'm miserable. Like, right. I'm terrified. These guys throw the nastiest stuff ever. How long did it take for you to settle in and go, all right, this is just my job?
That's a great question, and I got a quick answer for that, is that at every level up into the big leagues, in the minor leagues, and whether it be rookie ball, AA, AAA, high, whatever it was, there was a stretch in that year where I felt like, okay, I don't belong in this league. I need to go home. I'm not good enough for rookie ball. I'm not good enough for AA. And every time, because I'd rely on my family or teammates, I would push through that, and then there was moments in those seasons where I was like, I'm better than this league. I'm better than this league.
Nice.
And in the big leagues, there's no step up, and I was constantly searching for that. But I do feel like those perennial all-stars, the Manny Machados, they feel like that.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, I'm better than this league.
If there was a better league, I could go to it.
I never felt that way, but I was constantly searching for that feeling and working my tail off every offseason to try to put myself in the best position to get that feeling. It just never came, and the amount of talent that's in the major leagues is unbelievable.
Absurd.
Yeah, these guys are unbelievable.
So I'm sitting here, and I can look into the Padres clubhouse where all the fantasy campers are set up this week and where all the big leaguers will be here in a couple of weeks. Tatis and Manny and Jackson Merrill, he's been displaced somewhere else in the building this week. And as a member of the media, I've gotten to go in, clubhouses, and there's always an etiquette that you got to kind of respect. What was the first thing you had to learn about big league etiquette? When you got there, like what was something important that you needed to know?
St. Louis, that's obviously the organization I came up with, and I remember my first big league camp as a non-roster invite. They laid out the rules really quickly for you. If you're young, you get there early, and when I say early, it doesn't mean 30 minutes before the team meeting. You're there an hour or 2 hours before that meeting, and what they wanted to do was to get these young guys out of the way for the veteran guys. So. If it was going to the batting cage, you didn't even look at cage 1. If you were with St. Louis Cardinals, you're going down to cage 4, and whatever coach is down there is going to flip you. You don't get a choice. There's nothing, and get your damn work in. Even if cage 1 is empty, you're not going into it. So I like that, and I like earning your stripes and earning that respect, because when you do get to be that veteran status and you do get to go into cage 1. It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good.
You've earned something.
Exactly.
A promotion, if you will.
And I think that's what they did really well with St. Louis is they never handed you anything. They didn't care how talented you were. And I know that was one of the reasons guys like Craig Stammen and Eric Hosmer came over to instill that.
Yeah.
Because we did have such a great farm system for so long, but you can't just put these guys on this biggest pedestal if they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So I think that was super important. But yeah, that growing up in the Cardinals organization was big for me.
I've heard we're talking to Greg Garcia. I've heard horror stories too from the guys that are in their first camp, and they're like, well, this is great. I got this cold tub, this hot tub.
Man.
I can get a massage every day. And the veterans, they walk by and they go, this dude's on the table every day.
And you know why? Because you talk about the guys in the coaches clubhouse. Those guys had it 10 times worse than I did.
Oh, way worse, right?
I mean, those veteran guys were so hard. And you hear them now, like they check the training room now. They want to know.
They keep walking by going, oh, you're in here again, huh?
Exactly. It was such a big deal. It just you had to earn that right. Earn that right to go into that cold tub or get that massage and everything like that. But I always respected that. I love that.
So I think we asked you about it a little bit before, but you talked about your time in the Cardinals organization and bringing that ethic here. Obviously, Mike Schilt is a big part of that here, and just sharing some of your experiences with him from the Cardinals organization that he's now brought to San Diego.
I remember when he got the hire, it was like, I think I talked to everybody. I did a couple deals, and I was like, this is the right guy for the job. And what Mike does is he has his players' backs, as everybody knows.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you know that, and that's why guys love him though. I mean, they love him because the only time Mike's going to get on you is if you're not giving effort or if you're being a bad teammate.
Yeah.
But he'll do it behind closed doors. He's not going to do it to the media
Never.
or anything like that.
As much as I've tried
Right.
to get it out of him, he will not do it.
And the thing that he does, though, is he pulls the best out of players. And I look at a guy like Jurickson Profar, had a career year last year. Jackson Merrill to do what he did. A lot of that, for me, was probably Mike Schilt.
He just walked by you, Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson did. Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. There you go. Well, good year, Jackson. But I think, and you could ask him, I mean, I think Mike does a great job putting in guys to succeed. And it's no surprise that they had a great year last year, and he's the right man for the job.
Well, Greg, it's great to have you at camp. Hopefully this becomes an annual tradition for you as well, but it's good to see you here, having a good time, and thank you for sitting down with us for a few minutes.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Greg Garcia, former Padre, Cardinal, and now fantasy camp coach here in Peoria, Arizona. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We've got some more coaches, I think, bopping around, so not sure who's going to join us next, but you do not want to miss it. We're having a lot of fun this week. First, I want to tell you about SDFatLoss.com, my journey, not just my journey, but my colleagues' journey, Chris Ello, Matt Scraby, Tier 1s who have taken advantage of SDFatLoss.com's plan to lose up to 10 to 20% of your body weight in just 60 days. Think about the math on that. If you weigh 200 pounds, that's 20 to 40 pounds off in 60 days. For me, I was 40 pounds. I lost 40 pounds in 60 days. I have kept the weight off for about a year and a half now. thanks to their great strategies. It's a sustainable strategy. It just involves eating real foods at the right times and the right portions, chicken, steak, stuff I liked anyway. So it really wasn't that tough. Once I got used to it a few days, I'm like, okay, I can do this. I lost the weight, and now I feel so much better. Energy's up. I sleep better. My pain is down. I just, look better in your clothes. Everyone wants to look better in the mirror. This is a way to do it. You just have to call for the free consultation or just go to their website and set it up at sdfatloss.com. If you do so before January 31st, take advantage of their New Year special. Get $200 off for a new you in the new year. Lower your metabolic age and much, much more by going to sdfatloss.com. Schedule your free consultation now at sdfatloss.com. All right, we're live at Padres Fantasy Camp. It is Ben and Woods. It is Thursday. We've got one more day here tomorrow, then hitting the road back to San Diego. I will be back in time for the final round of the Farmers Insurance Open on Saturday.
You going to go?
Got underway yesterday. Yeah, I am emceeing the awards ceremony as I usually do.
Look at you.
Be there on the 18th green when a new champion is crowned.
Okay.
And the odds right now on that new champion have to be in favor of Sweden's Ludvig Åberg, who shot a 9-under 63 on the North Course to take a 2-shot lead. Now, the North Course was, as usual, playing much, much easier than the South. South was, I think, like 30 to 40 over par. The North was like 130 under par.
So, I mean, it's just the disparity is insane.
Yeah, the tournament doesn't really totally start until everybody's played both courses the first 2 days, and then they cut it down, and you can actually compare the scores. In fact, in some ways, maybe the real leader is a guy named Danny Walker, who shot a 7-under 65 on the South. Just his 4th ever PGA Tour event. Had already missed 2 cuts this year, and this is got a good start on making the cut this one, though, with a chance to play the easier North Course today in the second round. If he goes low, yeah, there's a good chance he could build a nice lead going into the final 2 rounds on Friday and Saturday at Torrey Pines.
I would love to have made it out this year, man. There's so much going on. I think I threw a little bit of a monkey wrench into the whole system. So I got to play. My team here is terrible. We've won 1 game. A little disheartening.
You had trouble last year, too.
Yeah. I've never been on a good team. Is it my fault? Probably. I'll just blame myself. I'll wear it. You know.
I've won 2 championships.
Yeah, Paulie's won 2 championships. But, so I have to play it's the consolation game. It's the dip-ass game that we play on Friday at 8 a.m.
The 7th place game.
Yeah, it's basically.
Out of 8 teams. The winner gets 7th, the loser gets last.
Yeah, you don't want to finish last,
Yeah.
so you want to win this game, I guess. But so I got to play in that game. It starts at 8 a.m. It's going to be 26 degrees. So we'll go out and play that. I'll come back. I'll finish the show with you.
But you don't miss it because it's out on the big field.
Yeah,
right?
it's at
like
the stadium. Yeah, of course.
Peoria Sports Complex.
So, of course, you want to play it. But so then I'm done. Problem is, I drove Paulie, and Paulie's going to be playing in a later game. And I want to get home. Bo's got a flag football game I want to go to. Here's my man Benny. So I'm going to ride home with you. Now, Paulie, you have to drive my car home. Are you okay with that?
Totally fine.
You get a nice 5.5-hour drive by yourself.
Are you okay listening to what I like to listen to the entire way back from Arizona?
I've done the Arizona drive with you once.
I wasn't in charge, I don't think.
The only excruciating thing about driving with you is that you go 54 miles an hour the whole time. It takes a 5.5-hour drive to about a 7.5-hour drive.
I'll set it cruise control at 65. We'll get home. We'll be fine. We'll make it.
I lay there. I sit next to him, and I'm listening to Steely Dan or something, and I'm just going, why is he going so slow? Why is he going so slow? Because Paulie knows. I mean, we barrel out here. If it's those long, flat stretches.
I do not want to end up in an Arizona labor camp. I'm sorry.
You won't. For what? What would you? It's not like you're drinking a bottle of vodka on the drive. You know, So I think what I'm going to try to do, if you don't mind, I'm just going to put my hood up and try to sleep. And then you can listen to golf radio, whatever you want, and I'll just sleep.
We did this a couple years ago, maybe spring training. We drove separately.
Yeah.
And, like, the 2 cars.
I rode with him.
Relatively quickly, like, a close proximity in time, we got to Yuma. Then we stopped for lunch.
Yep.
And we got in our separate cars.
Correct.
You 2 left before me. I had to pull off and get gas.
Yes. Take a dump,
the
whatever.
gas pump wasn't working. I actually had to go up 2 more exits and then get gas.
Yes.
So I'm 15, 20 minutes behind you guys.
We're all meeting at a golf course, by the way.
I beat you there by over an hour.
Over an hour. He drives.
With a 20-minute head start.
It is like driving this daisy. I'm with him in the car. I'm like, bro, this thing will go. It'll go 75. Trust me. And he's just putt, slow lane. And I'm laying next to him like, oh man, all right. This is an exercise in patience. So I don't care what you listen to. I just want you to go 80 miles an hour, for the love of God. You listen to anything you want.
You don't need to be in a hurry to get everywhere.
I do. I want to get home.
Savor life's moments.
I want to
enjoy the view.
I want to savor my children. I want to get home to them in time and go to the flag football game and Yeah, it's been a tough week on Bo.
Well,
He's
if
had
there was a
rough
chance I could get back and catch some of the third round tomorrow,
Yeah.
I may drive a little bit faster.
There you go. Now we're talking.
The Hideki Matsuyama had a 4-under on the South. He's the highest-ranked player in the tournament at number 4 in the world. Oberg is second at number 8. There actually isn't a ton of the top players. It's a bit of an issue for the Farmers Insurance Open. I mean, it's such a great event.
They had
I mean,
a bunch
it was beautiful out there yesterday.
They had a bunch of
withdrawals. Yeah, Colin Morikawa withdrew yesterday morning. Who withdrew yesterday morning? Blonde kid, very thin.
Oh, Victor.
No, not
No?
Victor Hovland.
Wait, somebody withdraw from fantasy camp, actually.
Withdraw from fantasy camp.
Oh, my God.
I can't believe you haven't
How
brought
did we
it
not
up
tell
yet.
this story? How do we not tell this?
It's pretty incredible.
We had a quitter.
First time ever.
We had a guy bail.
Oh, Will Zalatoris.
Will
That's what I was
Zalatoris.
thinking of, yeah.
All right, do you want to finish yours?
There's an
Yeah,
empty
go ahead.
locker in there right now.
Do you want to finish yours?
No, go ahead. I'm good now.
Okay. This is the weirdest thing. So remember when I told you guys about the Boston guy who was lauding the camp and the coaches for how great it was? It's just so different. The Red Sox camps are terrible. They sign a ball, then they disappear, and they're always on the phones. They're looking for broads, the whole thing. I did the whole bit a couple days ago. Guys on my team show up to the game yesterday, and I look and I go, where's so-and-so? And they go, oh, he quit. And I go, whoa. What do you mean he quit? Did he get hurt? And they go, no, he didn't get hurt.
Seemed to be having a good time.
I thought he was having a great time. He quit and packed his stuff and caught a flight and went home. And I go, what happened? Apparently, the day before, he was mad that he wasn't getting enough PT in the field, getting work on defense. Well, the coaches don't really assign, like, hey, get out there and play some first. Paulie, go play some short. Woodsy, go play left field. No, it's amongst the campers. And whoever wants some innings in the field, it's pretty standard. You say, hey, let me grab one at 1. Let me grab one at 2. Let me grab one at short. And no one put him in the game, and he got his feelings hurt, and he left. So now we're without a pretty good player, which is insane.
So he just walked away. Now he's getting no time in the field.
Well, it's like now you get no time in
Right.
the field. I mean, holy cow! Dude,
Interesting.
it was super.
All right, we're going to
insane.
check traffic, and then we got another of the great camp coaches joining us. Terry Kennedy is going to be with us right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
.3 The Fan.
I'm so glad to see that whatever tension and friction went on last year when Woodsy started camp on Terry Kennedy's team and got traded, first ever fantasy camp trade last year in
First
the middle
and
of
only.
the week,
Yeah.
seems to be past, because sitting down with us right now, former Padres catcher Terry Kennedy back with us here
Water
on
under the bridge.
97.3 The Fan.
Water
Look at
under
that.
the bridge.
That was all a joke.
TK, haven't
I got
been-
no problem with Woodsy.
I mean, I can't hit.
You
I wasn't hitting, so I deserve to be
I think
traded.
you have test anxiety
I do.
because
I do.
you're awesome, and then you just put too much on yourself when the game starts, and sometimes you just don't. You have to not give a you-know-what.
That's it, man. The Boone told me the same thing yesterday, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to change that.
I was actually more worried about our relationship. Now, were you at the panel last night that I was moderating, or were you not in
No,
the room last
no.
night? This is okay. So
Now
now,
you're
I
gonna
have
have
to
to- now
admit
you have to
what
confess.
I was. So we had the 3 Cy Young Award winners, Randy, Mark Davis, and Jake Peavy, and we sat down like 45 minutes, and I did a Q&A. And one thing Woods wanted to know was like, which players did you like failed? Yeah, were hard to get out, and which were the guys that you absolutely owned in your careers.
I contributed heavily to Mark Davis'
So
Cy Young.
I did some research, and I had my own formula based on plate appearances and OPS. And
I think I was 1 for 14.
It turned out that pretty much the worst major leaguer ever
18.
against 1 for 21 is what I got in my research. Like the worst ever against Mark Davis was sitting right here, Terry Kennedy.
And the only hit was a bases loaded double with 3 ribbies, and I thought I owned him. And then I looked back and I said, "Oh, I struck out 14 times in 21 trips."
Well,
I couldn't see the ball.
He had that curveball.
No, I could not pick up spin, and then I would just start guessing. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna look for breaking balls, or I'm just gonna guess," and I just couldn't see.
I promise I wasn't trying to call you out, but I was looking at the numbers. You know who Randy owned was Pete Rose.
Pete Rose, man, about
183 average. You told a story about one time Pete came up left-handed to give it a try and took 3 strikes and sat back down in the dugout.
I faced Randy one time in New York when he was with the Mets. Bases loaded, he hit me for a ribby.
Did it
the
hurt?
Next time up,
Yeah, did it hurt?
he threw a slider, and I saw he was going to hit me, and I didn't move, and I got another ribby because the base was loaded, and he starts screaming. He's not moving. I was 0 for 5 with 2
RBIs.
Yeah.
When I always love talking to catchers, so I always want to know: were you chatty behind the dish when you caught? Were you chatty with guys that came up to the plate?
Oh no, I would say hi if I knew the guy.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So you weren't one of those. All right, let's have
Jake
a little
Taylor
heater.
behind the plate.
No. That was no. I didn't like it, so I didn't do it.
Right. It would be the worst. And I heard Gary Carter used to chit chat a lot and do stuff like that. Is that accurate that you remember?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And you know what? On the outside, when we saw Carter, you know, we go, oh, cameraman, you know, always smiling, cameraman, blah blah blah. You know, but then I played with him in San Francisco. Gary Carter was a great human being.
Yeah.
And I was heartbroken when he died.
Yeah.
And he was second to bench in that era to me.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. What a great player.
It just shows you that, you know, when they're on the other side, you make judgments and they're wrong.
Isn't that the worst when you play against the guy for years and you're like, there's just something about him I don't like him. And then you get him on your team and you're like, oh, he's fantastic. And that's, you know, Jurickson Profar is a great example. I think Jurickson Profar, if you play with Jurickson Profar, you're like, he's the best teammate of all time. You play against him, you're like, I hate that guy. I'm going to drill him every
He's grown up a lot.
He has.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
I've watched him and I scouted him and he's grown a lot, which is great. You know, someone that can make the adjustments and mature. But, you know, the case you're talking about, anybody on the Dodgers, you hated them. But then when you played with them, you go, hey, they're not bad.
They're not too bad.
Talking to Terry Kennedy here. And, TK, speaking of, legends who we've lost, Ricky Henderson passed away recently. And you actually had that opportunity to manage Ricky when he played for the San Diego Surf Dogs at the end of his career. Give me something from that season because
he's amazing.
That was bizarre.
I got about 10 calls from people, and there's an article somebody in the Times, New York Times, wrote it, and it was very good. I can't remember the writer's name, but you know I knew Ricky from playing against him and seeing him, and I was wondering, you know, how's this going to work? You know, I was
nervous,
trepidatious, and. So I sat down with him and I said, okay, how much you want to play? You know, he goes, I don't want to play on Sunday. I said, are you going to show up? He goes, oh yeah, I'll be there. But he goes, I'm not. I said, that's good. As long as you show up, I said, the players will understand. I said, you know, these guys, they don't know anything about big leaguers. I said, it's important. And so, well, what happened is Ricky was a different guy. And, you know, many times I wouldn't go because I didn't go out with the players. But, you know, he'd say, hey, after the game, you guys are with me. And he took care of all their bills.
Amazing.
You know, they go out, have a few drinks or go eat, and he picked it up. They loved him. One day I asked him I said, Ricky, you know, can you give me 20, 30 minutes and go through the base running, starting at first base and going around? He goes, oh, yeah, sure. So the whole team went out there. And I didn't know what to expect, but apparently he thought about this a lot because he was very linear, like he'd been on the coaching side for 20 years.
Right.
It was perfect.
Oh.
and the opposing team was in a dugout, and they're all over there leaning forward like this. I said, "Come on out, come on
and listen to the goat."
And man, I tell you,
That's so rad.
I said these guys just don't know what they're hearing right now. They don't understand how important this is. The greatest base runner in history, telling them how to do it.
Yeah.
And we got along, but the best story of all is one of the teams was here in Surprise, and ESPN was there that day. Well, he wasn't playing, and ESPN keeps coming to the dugout to me and saying, are you going to put him in? I said, I don't know. I said, depends what happens in the game. So I said, Ricky, you pinch hit. You want to pinch hit right here? He says, yeah. He hit a home run while ESPN was filming.
Yeah, he had a knack for the dramatic.
It was the final, cosmic thing that he did, and it was perfect, perfect.
So Terry probably doesn't remember this, but he managed Ricky Henderson. He also, for a couple of hours, managed yours truly. And you always wonder why I don't do fantasy camp. So the Surf Dogs, that league, they were always looking for a little media promotion, trying to get in front of the cameras. And they held a media tryout day. And I was still a fairly young television reporter, so Channel 10 sent me out to do the media tryout. He put us all through our paces, though. I remember, you made me throw from right field to third base. My arm almost fell off.
I would do anything for that.
It's the last day I ever played baseball in my life. I realized this is not for me anymore. So when I come here, I just sit here and play some golf and do some radio.
They set you guys up because I was going to make you pay, all those guys pay for what happened.
Apparently he has promised Tom Seidler, if the Padres ever win a championship, he'll actually come out and play the camp. I don't see him getting past the first day.
I don't know.
He's
I don't
athletic.
think so.
He can swing a golf club like nobody's business. He'll whip your ass on the golf course, but him running down to first base is a scene. It's a scene.
Well, you know what I've noticed here, and I finally put it together this year. Okay, because of everyone's age, maybe they're a 53-year-old, 54-year-old. Well, that time between 53 and 54 to campers is like between 21 and all of a sudden now you're 35. And, you just can't help it. It's not their fault.
It's true. 48 to 49 has been a huge jump for me.
They get ready for it. They tell me how much they prepare
They're
for
working.
this, and they have to. But you're just not – it's like I went to spring training in shape.
Yeah.
I was ready to play. But you're not ready for it. You're not ready for, catching 6-7 guys a day, and then they say, okay, you guys can go hit now. After catching 7 guys, you got no legs left, and your feet hurt from standing up, and that's the best comparison to this. And, just the standing around will kill you.
It will. And standing around in cleats all day hurts.
Yep.
Man, my feet are killing me. It's the best. DK, you're the best, man. Thank you so much. Great Ricky Henderson stuff. Today, and good luck to you guys. We'll be playing in the early game. My team, we're done. We're 8 a.m.
It's going to be 37 tomorrow.
This is Mark Loretta said this is moving day though. Like half the teams are 3-3.
Yeah,
it's never happened before.
The spot in
either.
the championship
Big
is
day.
up for grabs for just about everybody.
One last
today.
Ricky thing. They asked me, are you going to try to get into Ricky's head? I said, no, I'm afraid of that. I might never get out.
100%. Thanks,
Terry
TK.
Kennedy.
Great Terry Kennedy.
Padres catcher from the 1984 National League Championship squad. So great to chat with him. And, no more bad blood between. There never really was between Woodsy and TK.
No, I really think he didn't like me. I didn't perform for him, which I'm not performing for Flan or Archie, so maybe it's a me problem.
All right, we have 2 more hours still to go. We'll come back, and I think Bret Boone is still going to join us at some point this morning. He was ready to completely dissect Woods.
Oh, yeah.
He's all unbelievable. Soup to nuts, mentally, physically, everything.
Not touching my
and we will talk to Bret Boone coming up in the second half of the program today. We can also talk a little more Padres baseball, as we did earlier with the trade rumors involving the Minnesota Twins and Christian Vasquez, the catcher, see if anything comes to that in our second half of Bennett Woods coming up.
I look forward to it, Benny. If anything breaks, certainly. But at this point, it was an article written in The Athletic, so there's definitely some smoke going on. But I don't know how much Christian Vasquez does for Padres fans today, depending on what the the return is. But we do need a catcher, and if that's what we get, then so be it.
It's the old, we need a move. Well, not that move.
Yeah, not that move. I don't want that move.
Make a move.
I want a
Not
good,
like that.
I want a good move.
I've been told by people in the know that there are irons in the fire. You know, AJ is not just sitting on his hands doing nothing. He's continuing to work the phones. He's got moves to make. They will be made. We just haven't seen them yet.
Yep.
All right, so we'll come back. We got 2 more hours of Ben and Woods continuing live from Padres Fantasy Camp in Peoria, Arizona. Don't go away. You're listening to San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3.
way home on a Thursday. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. I'm Woodsy. That's Ben Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, and Paulie Reindl, the executive producer of the program, keeping us all running and on time and all of that. And I would say I'm happy to have our next guest here, but I don't know if that's the case. Usually I'm very excited to see Boone, but he cornered me last night. He chewed me out, and I said, just save it. Save it for tomorrow. So we got about halfway through it. Welcome to the program. Bret Boone, good morning.
Hello, guys.
How are you?
Hello, Odyssey colleague. Bret Boone podcast.
It's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Well, the off season, we try to give you at least a couple of weeks off before we lean on you heavily during baseball season. But how's the last couple of months been going for you?
It's been good. I've been doing a lot of traveling, and then I decided it was a good idea to do back-to-back fantasy camps with the Cincinnati Reds, roll it into the Padres. No big deal. Just knock out 12 days.
Get Mariners camp in, too?
Oh, man. I'm serious. It sounds really good, months and months
On
away.
paper.
Like, hey, I'll just kill two birds, one stone. Don't have to go over there twice. And I was getting at the end of the Reds camp, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? I got to start a fresh one and put that I'm a nice guy face on.
For another week.
I'll tell you, though, my first camp I ever did was the Padres a couple years ago. I really enjoy this group of coaches. A lot of buddies of mine, guys I played with, definitely a lot of guys I played against, and it's fun. I mean, as you guys know, getting to be around these guys, and I got a really good team this year, as all you guys in this room know. So
Undefeated.
We're 6-0.
The only team with a winning record, actually, which is crazy.
Yeah. We're finding ways to win. We're walking people off, and no, it's been a lot of fun, but. Man, it's been long, and I wake up every day and go, wait a minute, I'm still not going home tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I got a couple more days, but hopefully we bring home the hardware this year.
So the coaches, you draft your own teams at the
You do.
start. You do an evaluation, and then you draft.
Right.
I noticed you didn't draft Woodsy over here. And with your record, I guess, can't complain with the results.
No.
Well, here's the deal. You got to, and for me, although I am a bit, I still consider myself rookie-ish when it comes to coaching. There's some guys out here that know exactly what they're looking for. They know the personnel. They know who works where. My goal from the beginning, and I'm with Brian Lawrence, we just thought we've got to get a horse pitcher.
You got one.
We picked two, and we got the McGarity kid, and he is the horse in camp as far as a pitcher, and he can hit. So we got him with a number. After you get your pick, and if you're an early pick, you'd be amazed how long you have to wait
Snake
for
draft,
pick number two.
Like fantasy
so
football.
you've got people ranked, and we had 10 guys on the board. By the time it got back to us, 6 of the guys were gone.
Sure.
So, and then you're just kind of, who didn't I just cross off on the list or the next picks?
Yeah.
Because you're out there and I'm watching guys. I'm just crossing guys off like, by no means do you want him. So, the draft's a bit of a crapshoot, but that's also a fun time in there, and that group makes it a lot of fun. But so far, so good. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's coming in a couple days.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. You'll be done.
No, tomorrow. I'm still here, though. I got to stay one more night. I'm kicking butt on my Marriott.
Well, you
reward
got the last
points.
game tomorrow because the championship is at the end.
Yeah, you're in the chip.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I got to sleep over one more night.
One more night.
For those Marriott points.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, so yesterday you grabbed me in the hallway.
Yes.
And you started to lay into me a little bit, which
Yes.
I think I needed. I thought about it a lot after when I got home in the deep, dark recesses of my mind. So what are your observations?
All right, here we go. We got Paulie and Woodsy, who are baseball absolute fanatics. Ben, a fanatic, but not from the physical standpoint.
Correct.
Now, ever since I know you guys going back 3-4 years ago, I can tell you're like a crazy person. You're like that guy that gets the golf bug and you just can't stop going to the range.
Yep.
I get it. Like, all right, he's passionate about his game. Paulie was too, but in a quieter way.
Yeah.
But then I started breaking you down over the years, and I'm thinking, okay, if I'm a scout, I'm going to fantasy camp, I've got a little of experience, I'm still kind of a rookie. I'm in between a rookie and a veteran as far as scouting the fantasy league. I know what I'm getting. I know there's guys at one end of the spectrum that, hey, they probably played a little high school baseball, they can still do it. They've got some youth on their side. Then there's guys that probably never made their freshman baseball team. They're 75, and they just love the game.
Sure.
Okay. So if I'm scouting Woodsy, I'm thinking, okay, still relatively young, can move, got pretty good footwork, can pick up a ground ball, has got good actions, got good arm actions, got a somewhat athletic swing, got some bat speed. You're a high draft pick for me. Now, translate that for Woods going on the field. And Paulie, too, by the way. For this camp, very physical, hits the ball hard, has got a good arm, can walk and chew gum. That's a prerequisite. I mean, that's a high draft pick, walking, gum chewing. So both pretty good on the physical side. Difference between you and Paulie is he can translate it to the field. He goes onto the field, and he's that guy I thought I was getting when I drafted him. He's going to smoke some ball. He's going to make some mistakes. But for the most part, if I put him into pitch, he's got the ability to throw a strike.
Yeah.
He's got the ability to repeat an action. Whereas you, all of a sudden, all right, game one, excuse me, I still got a little bit of a cough. I don't know if it was game one or game two. I'm coaching third. There he is. I hear something. I'm like, Woodsy must be on the field. He's talking to me about this week already and how he's going to do good, and he's ready to go. And first ball, he kicks it. I said, "What?
I don't remember.
Here we go. Here we go." And then they're having trouble pitching his team. And I forget who's your skipper.
It's Arky and Flan.
Yeah, so Flan's talking to me about, man, we don't have a guy that can throw strikes. I said, Woods can throw it. I said, put Woods out there. He's an athlete. Woods comes into the game, can't throw a strike.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is, what changes from the backfields in the minor leagues to when you get the call to the big leagues?
Yeah, I don't know.
What changes?
I don't know.
Because I understand if you were a fringe talent compared to everybody else, you're intimidated. The guys are really good. Like when you get called to the big leagues, guys are really good.
Yeah.
And you're thinking to yourself as a minor league guy coming up, can I match up?
Yeah.
But you've seen these guys. You know you're better than 90% of the class. So when you get to the field, wouldn't that be a way that you crush your opponent?
I go the other way.
It's like you play down to the
play
worst.
Down. Yeah,
you play down.
It's the
You're a mess.
Yeah, I have to do too much. That's what I always.
So why do you think that?
I don't
If
know.
you were playing in a real league,
Yeah.
where there was real talent, I could see the angst.
I play better in a real league than here. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
It would be like, okay, I got to think of a passion for me. Golf, maybe a little bit for me. I'm a decent player. Compared to my buddies, I'm probably the worst player in our group at all times. I'm like a 5'6", 5'8" index. Most of the guys I play with are 2s and 3s, so I'm the worst player. In the real world, a 5.6, as you know as a golfer, is a really good player.
Yeah.
But not in my world.
Right.
So I can hang with them.
Sure.
But that would be like me going to play golf with a 20 handicap and just falling apart.
And he smokes you. Yeah.
That can't happen.
That can't happen. No,
Woods,
I know.
I've dedicated one day of this offseason before Fantasy Camp 2026 that we are going to go out. Paulie will come. He doesn't need my instruction, but he can come just for maybe bring a camera, and we'll break it down, because in Camp 26, I want to see the coaches in the room going, Woodsy really he crossed the threshold.
Yeah, he made the next
He got
step.
over it.
Yeah.
And he's a legit, reliable number one pick.
This has
That's
to
what I'm
sting
looking
a
for.
little bit.
It does.
Doesn't it?
I can't.
Stings.
You know me. You know I care.
do.
I care too much. That's the problem. Is I care too much. I care. It's about everything, and I get myself domed out because I just want to do good. I want to be great.
Cares about radio. Cares about everything.
And I get so spun out. Instead of just being the cool guy that's like, here it comes, I'm going to drill it. I'm trying to hit it over the left fielder's head every time, and I
That
end
would
up
be like
popping it up.
right. Like if you get somebody in here that's never been on the radio before, doesn't know how to talk, doesn't know anything about baseball, and you do an interview with them, are you gonna panic?
Am I going to panic? No.
Exactly.
No.
Why are you panicking out there?
It's a great question.
Think Manny Machado.
I know.
Never panics at all.
Never.
Ever.
There's no panic.
Never let them see you sweat.
I know, man. I'm out there grinding through ABs off a pitching machine.
You really are. Dave Burba, okay? Dave Burba, a teammate of mine. I had him in Cincinnati Reds camp. We were telling stories, and I remember Burbs. He loved to hit so much. Now, as a pitcher, I never can get over it. Yeah, it's great if you can contribute a bunt, back when they used to hit.
Ground ball the right
if
side.
If you get a hit, right. If you put it in play, you're winning. Just pitch. to shut up about hitting and pitch, but I've had some pitchers that love to hit.
Yeah.
But it's not your job, and you're not good at it
Right.
anyway. So quit talking to me about what bat you should use.
Yeah.
So Burb's classic, and one of my favorite guys. We're in Cincinnati, and he gets a 3. He's in a 3-1 count. He gets a cookie down the middle, comes unglued, fouls it straight back. He's so angry that he missed the 3-1 pitch in a big league contest that he takes his bat over his head and he snaps it on the plate, mid at bat.
Not often.
Like he struck
Still
out.
in the at-bat.
Like he came.
And then all of a sudden, he's looking around like, oh, the bat's still going on. Bat boy brought him out another bat, proceeded to punch out, come back, and then just kind of tail between his legs. But it's stuff like that. I'm like, Burbs, you can't get. We've got a 3-2 game here. You're on the hill.
You're on the bump.
Yeah. I don't care about that meaningless at bat. We knew you were going to strike out anyway. But he's like, yeah, but Boone, the pitch was right.
It's
there.
right there. I
It
missed
reminds
it.
me of you.
It'd be-
Reminds me of you.
Well, I'll say this, Woods. You at least take the chance, put yourself out there, and you go out on the field. I just like the big league lifestyle outside of the sport.
Yes.
I want to play the golf. I want to, I want to go all the other, go
Ben's
out.
He's more of a snob.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what
You
I'm
finally
saying?
figured that out,
Yeah,
huh?
he's more of a snob. He likes all the little accolades
Yeah.
and the trinkets for coming to camp. He's the big, he runs the show.
Yeah, runs the
every
panel.
hour.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But he's like, I'll play later.
I don't want to get in the cage.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. It's always been that way. I think at the end of the day, Booney, I think I'm a choker. I think I'm just a choker.
It's not a choker. It's beyond that. It's become so deeply embedded in your brain.
How do I get rid of it?
That's what we're going to work on this offseason.
Okay, all right. I look forward to it.
Booney, I'm glad you made it
Because
back.
I've got to do some studying.
I'm glad you made it back to camp this year.
You got it, guys.
And hopefully we will get to see you again in the future, and we'll talk to you as the season approaches as well.
It stings. It does sting. He's right. It hurts when it's true. Oh, it's such a bummer.
Our
You got
Odyssey
it, boys.
colleague,
Thank you.
Brett Boone Podcast. Always check it out. He's posting new stuff on social media every single day. Always good to see Brett Boone. We're going to take a quick timeout. We will come back. Are we going to play real or fake here? Or do we want to push it? We'll figure it out. We got to figure some things out scheduling-wise. If we got another coach coming on, or we'll play some real or fake coming up. First, though, Woodsy is going to tell us a little bit about Underdog Fantasy.
Well, listen, if I was picking myself on Underdog, I would pick the under. That's what I would take. I would take lower. If they said Woods is going to get 1.5 hits today, I would probably take lower than that. Because, listen, the body is willing, but the mind is weak right now. But Underdog, if you are a sports fan in California, good news. You can now play Underdog Fantasy. It's really, really fun. Having a great time doing it. A lot of Tier 1s are as well. Best place to cash in on all your takes during the playoffs and the regular season. If you like NBA, if you like the golf game, you can do some higher and lower there. It's always a good time. With their pick'em game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats. This is not rocket science. You guys can figure this out. Pretty easy. Create entries with all football picks or mix and match across all your other favorite sports. Cannot wait for baseball season to start. I will be on Underdog every single day. You can believe it. With Underdog's double flex option, you can even take 2 L's, turn them into a win. So just go download the app. Underdog, the best place to play pick'em. Download the app. Sign up with the promo code WOODS, please. Deposit now. You can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code WOODS. Must be 18 and over, present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
We work things out here at Fantasy Camp. We're going to push back our game of real or fake. A few minutes, probably at the bottom of the hour, a chance to qualify for a trip to Las Vegas. But we got another camper in before you guys have your morning meeting in the clubhouse. And it is a pleasure to welcome to Ben & Woods, Padres pitcher from the early 2000s and the co-coach of our last guest, Bret Boone, whose team is in first place. So I guess he knows what he's doing. Brian Lawrence is with us here on 97.3 The Fan. B-Law, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me. This is something I look forward to. You know, it's the second time I've done it, and just had a really good time.
It's you got some characters in there. Who's the lead storyteller?
Oh,
Flan's
up
Flan.
there.
Woo!
Oh yeah, and you get everybody going, and everybody has, you know, TK has a lot of stories, and then everybody kind of just remembers and starts adding on to it, and then one story can end up being a 45-minute conversation.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, it's just in there spinning yarns.
Now,
it's so good.
You have some coaching experience after your playing career in the Padres system, the Cubs system. Does that help you at all here?
No.
With the fantasy campers?
I'll answer for him. No, it does not.
No,
not even a little.
No, what I've seen is how, as a coach, we're competing here is the first day when there's tryouts, and how important it is to really pay attention to how people move.
It's a war of attrition out here. Really, I mean, if you can run to first base by the fourth day, you're in good shape.
Good, and you know, age does have something to do with that, and you know, just watching them take a ground ball and looking like, all right, I know he can go out there. He's not gonna make every play, but he knows what he's doing a little bit, and we compete in the draft room. That's where it is, and then once that's over, we kind of hand it over and just watch you guys go about your business.
Yeah, it's a blast every year. I just got roasted by Bret Boone. He basically called me Ranger Rick. You know, you're really good off the tee at the range. Get out to the course. The mental side takes over. So when you were a pitcher, how much did you have to battle with your head? You know, in game, after game, pre game. Was that ever a battle for you?
No.
Must be nice. It must be really nice.
That side of it was never a part of me. I never had confidence or lack of confidence that I was going to be able to do the job. It was a matter of self-awareness and knowing why I'm not doing well. And if it's not that I'm not good enough anymore, it's no, I'm missing here or I'm doing this. If I can fix that, I'm going to be. And it was, you're right back at it. You have nerves. You know, some guys just the nerves take over and they can't do it. And so, you know, we had anxiety of getting the game going. I need to get going. I need to compete. And once you get out there, it all goes away.
Yeah.
And you just do your thing.
Now, that's fascinating to me because obviously, you know, you're the hardest thrower in the big leagues. You go and, you know, guys have been throwing in the mid-90s, and you're in the mid-80s a lot of the time. But that didn't bother you at all. You felt like you go out there and you can compete against the best in the world.
Yes, and that was I never tried to be somebody else. So I didn't try to reach back and throw 90. My game was getting in a comfort zone of that day, whatever it may have been, and velocity-wise, and then attacking my strengths, which were deception, movement, making the ball go two directions, inside, outside, and keeping them off balance. You know, that first pitch changeup, which I hardly throw changeups. But I'll get in there and in a third inning, and all of a sudden I throw a first pitch changeup, and the guy's out in front and hits it, and I'm like, sweet, it's perfect. You know, I just took my fourth pitch and got an out. And it's just that sort of thing. That's what made me good, not velocity.
Talking to Brian Lawrence here on Ben & Woods this morning. How important in your career were your catchers? Because we just did we just played a piece of Michael King, was on with Corey Kluber, and was talking about all the great catchers he's had in his career. And you know, Higgy he left. He's on his way to Texas. He's going to help that pitching staff there. So now, you know, these guys, Michael King and you, Darvish, are going to have to get used to another catcher, whoever it may be. Maybe it's Camposano, maybe it's somebody else. In your career, did you care who you were throwing to?
Yes. But that being said, San Diego never really had anybody that I didn't want to throw to.
Sure.
We had a couple guys get called up, and I'm not going to mention names, but they would get there and they just didn't know what they were doing.
Right. Is it because they were rookies? Were they were fresh call-ups, or was it
a little of that, but also a little of just not being able to retain the information? You know, for instance, we were going over a scout. I think we were playing. I don't remember who we were playing, but the leadoff hitter, I'm like, we will not throw this guy slider in the zone.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to happen. I'll throw it and I'll bounce it or I'll do it this, but we're not throwing it in the strike zone. And so that's count related, right? So if it's early in the count, I got to throw it for a strike. not a ball. I'm not getting him to chase in a no-0 count. I want him to swing at a strike. And first at bat, we hadn't even got it. The very first at bat, and he's calling a slider, and I'm like, we just talked about this.
We just did this.
And so then now that puts the pressure on me of I have to, where if I trust my catcher, I'm not really necessarily thinking about what I'm throwing. I'm throwing what he's calling. We're just going to do it and execute. And then every once in a while I'll be like, no, this is a good, and I'll shake him off. But if I'm rarely shaking, that means we're good.
If you're shaking first pitch of the first batter, it's going to be a long day for you.
It's a long day. It was, that was a long night.
It's very fantasy camp-esque, by the way.
I'm talking to Brian Lawrence, former Padres pitcher. And, Bilo, you got to the big leagues at a weird time for the Padres organization. It was, between 98 and then Petco Park got approved, but then the construction was delayed and kind of playing out the string at the queue. And then it was Tony Gwynn's retirement in 2001. What do you most remember kind of about that era and then finally getting to Petco Park in 2004?
I enjoyed Qualcomm because that was where I got called up. That was, my first place in the big leagues was there, watching BP in the games. And so I had, some love for that there. But it was nice getting into the new stadium. And, they would talk to us about what we needed and tried to implement that sort of stuff into the new stadium. And they were asking us who has the best mound. And, majority of people said Dodger Stadium. And so they were going to Dodger Stadium and trying to figure out what made their mound so much better than everybody else's because they're supposed to be the same, but they're not. And so that made it nice. But then that early in my career, my rookie year was Tony's last year, and being able to watch that was amazing. I pitched his last game. I pitched Ricky Henderson's 3,000 hit game. I started that game and got whipped, but it was still
it's probably the catcher's fault if we're being honest.
I'm still mad that the Colorado Rockies put someone right in the 5.5 hole for Tony's last at bat. He put it right there, and they shifted him right over. Like, give the man the hole. It's the last day of the season. Give him the. I want a guy on the line and a guy up the middle. He's getting one at bat, pitch hitting. Put it right at the 5.5 pole. I forget Uribe or someone was just sitting right there to scoop it up. I'm going, this was the perfect story.
Well, Rockies been a thorn in our side for a long time. They shouldn't be, but it's the team I'm most terrified when we go on the road. I mean, it just kills me.
Well, we got him back, I think, a couple years later when Helton was going for the hitting title, and it was the last day of the year, and we walked him. He needed one hit to win, and we walked him.
Nope.
So, not getting it.
So you guys you're looking at, you may not know this, and I don't think they made as much of a big deal about it back in 2002, but one of the few pitchers in Major League Baseball with an immaculate inning.
Wow. You don't see too many of those out here. I'll tell you that right now.
No, and when you do, you see guys who are throwing, usually 97, Tell me, what do you remember, if you even do remember, your immaculate inning? 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts.
I didn't at the time. When it happened, I didn't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing. It wasn't until after the game when they were asking me about it. And then you go back, and I've seen it so many times now because it does come up, and you see all the pitches and stuff. It was one of those innings to where I didn't even get touched. They didn't even foul. They had
badass
8 swings. 8 out of the 9 pitches were swings. Woo! And not one foul ball. It was 8 swings and misses in a row.
The most immaculate of innings.
That is so immaculate.
So it was, one of those things. I was throwing a wiffle ball that day. You just couldn't hit it.
Oh, I love that, man. I love that. I don't think I've thrown 8 strikes all week. So it happens. It happens. That's great.
Well, no, actually, Ashby has one too.
He does. We talked about that with him as well. Yeah, it's a rare thing. So just let Padres fans know what you kind of been up to. What's your life like nowadays?
I got 2 girls in Poway School District. We're out by the high school. Been there 22 years now, and it's home. I'm a Texas boy that came to California and never left.
So is this guy.
One of the rare ones.
Right there with you. Never leaving.
No, it's great, and watching them grow and play softball and all the activities they're in is kind of what I'm doing. But
how old are they?
A sophomore in 8th grade.
How about those? How about those little league dads? Right, coming up, and it's got to be the same even for softball. I mean, it's insane. I got my youngest is starting t-ball. My oldest is playing machine pitch, and it really is tough. Youth sports is tough right now with the parents.
It is, and I'm doing lessons, so I talk to a lot of parents through baseball, and the travel ball thing is It's good. It's a lot of games.
A lot of games.
I think you have to pick the right time to go to that for your family. My daughters actually have never played travel ball, but we do have a really, really good rec league there in Poway. That the team my youngest daughter's still on they're so good.
Yeah.
They're really good. It's a good group. So she plays enough games there, and we don't want them to make it more than that.
Burn out. Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, she might play a year or two before high school, which is going to be next year. So it'd be this summer, if at all. But I doubt she might not even do travel ball either.
Yeah.
I'll go right into high school and do that.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice. You do pitching lessons?
Yes. So I do some pitching lessons at the house.
All
yeah.
right. Okay.
And
Let's,
I keep it at a level where I'm not, rushing people through there. I'll break it down, and I have an hour between lessons, and we take our time. And I'll do a couple a night. I'm not overloading it.
All right, so I'll do a pitching lesson with B-Law and a hitting lesson with Boone. I'll come in here next year at 50 and ready to dominate.
You'll have a really great tryout.
As usual.
Well, good luck. You guys, you're the championship favorites right now at 6-0 against meeting time. So thank you, Brian, for sitting down with us. We appreciate it.
Go get 'em.
Thanks for having me.
There's Brian Lawrence, former Padres pitcher, joining us. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, get your thoughts on Roki Sasaki's introduction. I know
fantastic.
You've got a couple of thoughts on that yesterday with the Los Angeles Dodgers. We can play a little real or fake as well. Chance to qualify someone for Las Vegas when we come back. First, though, Woodsy.
Well, listen, guys, you want to get rid of all of that credit card debt that you have accrued. Loan Pronto can certainly help you doing that right now. They have, and they are offering to you, my friends, their rapid equity loan makes it easy to pay off all your credit cards and tackle the 2025 home improvement project. Get cash in your pocket fast. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. They have AI-driven technology, gets you approved and funded in as little as a day. One client got $150,000 approved in under 24 hours, paid off their credit cards, 2 cars, and a personal loan. Now save over $1,500 a month. Low fixed rates, lightning fast transfers. Do it as well. Consolidate debt, improve your home, take control of your finances in 2025. Imagine being credit card debt-free by this time next week. Just call Loan Pronto at 619-207-4336 or visit loanpronto.com. Get your free rate quote now with no hard credit pull. 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS Consumer Access.
All right, we're back here. It is 9:39 in Arizona, 8:39 back in San Diego. Thursday morning with Ben and Woods, live from Padres Fantasy Camp. Talking to a bunch of campers. We got a few more set for tomorrow to wrap up the week. But it is always great catching up, especially with guys that haven't had a chance to talk to, at least for many years, like Brian Lawrence.
Yeah.
Sitting down and just getting his stories. And, the Immaculate Inning. I kind of remembered it because I was doing the pre- and the post-game show with Craig at the time in 2002. But people didn't make as big of a deal. I think it's kind of a social media thing once, you can instantly show the highlights. This guy got 9 up, 9 down. I didn't remember that no one even touched a pitch in that inning against Brian Lawrence.
8 swings and misses and a called strike. That's incredible, man. It's the level of locked in you have to be to do that is nuts. I'm surprised RJ didn't have more, but he pitched to more contact.
Well, he pitched to contact, yeah.
Those guys would get him, but
so did B-Law. I mean,
that's true.
I think I saw his average fastball his final year was the slowest in baseball, 83.3.
That is crazy.
I mean, nowadays they won't even let you get on the bus for a minor league game if that's your fastball. But you wonder how many good pitchers that they're missing out on that they never even give a chance because they don't have the tools they think to succeed, but they know how to pitch. And
they can get outs.
They got command. They can get outs. They can outthink the batters, and they could be effective if they ever got the opportunity. But I don't think they're getting the opportunity because, let's be honest, even if you appreciate the art of pitching, you get 2 prospects, 18-year-olds sitting in front of you, and one throws 97 and the other throws 82. Who are you drafting?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you have to draft at 97 just to save your own ass. Really. Like, that's at the end of the day, chasing velo.
Because you pass on the 82 guy and the 97 guy doesn't work out, fine.
Hey, no big deal.
You pass on the 97 guy, he becomes a Hall of Famer, and you get the 82-mile-an-hour guy. I really saw something in him. It's like, no, thank you. We're going to pick another general manager.
There's no end in sight. There is no end game. The velo will be chased until the world ends. You know what I'm saying? Like there will never not be pitchers looking to throw harder.
If you want to get online to play a little real or fake on a Thursday, try to qualify for our trip to Las Vegas, you can call Frankie back in the studio right now, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We'll play in just a couple of minutes, but you can dial now. He'll put you on hold, and we'll get ready to play in just a second. Now, speaking of general managers, yesterday the Dodgers lined up their entire brass and Roki Sasaki for his official introduction. Put on his jersey, number 11, the newest pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then there were some comments, translate comments from Roki Sasaki, one of which being that, he liked the stability of the front office with the Los Angeles Dodgers, one of the deciding factors for him. Which
said it was the deciding factor.
Which of course made everybody wonder how much the behind-the-scenes ownership drama was impacting with the Padres. I will say that when he says that, do you know which team on the West Coast has the longest tenured front office with the same, essentially, certainly general manager running the team and pretty much the entire same cast of characters around him?
I know.
It's the San Diego Padres.
I know.
A.J. Preller's been around longer than even Andrew Friedman for the Los Angeles Dodgers, running the show for the San Diego Padres. They're the epitome of stability in the front office in baseball right now. I think it's only Brian Cashman maybe, or maybe Mike Rizzo with the Nationals on the East Coast.
Cashman's been there
have
forever.
had guys who've been longer. But, A.J. Preller is about as stable as it gets right now in baseball front office circles.
Yeah, I mean, look, I said it early this morning. It is what it is at this point. I don't care about Roki Sasaki anymore, not even a little. He's a Dodger, and that's where he's going to be for the foreseeable future. And, nothing that we've heard, nothing that was put out into the media, through his agent, nothing has been accurate. Nothing. I mean, there's not one thing. Hey, it's important to him that he, feels comfortable with the smaller media. False. The Japanese players are really going to have an effect. False. It just feels again like more gaslighting from I don't want to blame the kid, but from his agent, I guess at this point, nothing that they've said has actually been accurate. And look, I can be convinced Do you really feel in your heart of hearts that the Padres had a legit shot? I do. I feel like they had a shot at him.
I know. I believe that they thought they had a legit shot.
I believe that they thought that they had a shot. But I do feel Roki Sasaki, wanted to be a Dodger. That's the fit that he sees for himself. More power to him. Congratulations. Good luck.
We do know that he ticked off a lot of teams in baseball along the way, and Joel Wolf, his agent, addressed some of that and said, yeah. So, we didn't really talk about this that much, but Roki Sasaki gave every team a homework assignment, and he asked every team to tell him why his velocity dropped off a tick last year.
Yeah.
And that was like a test, basically, like, okay, how do your analytics work? How do your biomechanics work? And they all put together this presentation. But a lot of the teams were going like, this is stuff that you get when you sign with us.
Yes.
Not before. This is our proprietary stuff you're asking us to reveal.
To give to you.
And you're really giving us no chance because we want to land you, and we can't just say – I wonder if there was a team that just said, no, we love you. But,
yeah, there's an episode there's an episode of The Office where they're interviewing a guy for the management position, and he comes in and he goes, I've got a 6-point plan, to help turn this around. They said, well, let's have it. And he's like, I'm not going to give you my plan. Give me the job. And he said, well, he goes, I'll give you part of a plan. I'll do part 3, subset A and B, and I'll give you that part. But I want the job, and then you can have my plan. So no, I can see it's a bit annoying. And the thing is, I said it on the air, and I won't back down from that. I liked, as far as the process went, I did like that he was eliminating teams early. I did. I thought that was I don't want to say a classy move, but I think that was a good move. You're not keeping 12 teams on the hook. Let them be free to go out and explore other international signings. And it gives those guys a chance to sign.
You can't call it a classy move because it turns out everything else he has said, he's been full of S.
It's just seemed that it went against everything that all of us thought. And so, hey, listen, it is what it is. Roki Sasaki cannot consume my thoughts anymore.
Andrew Friedman.
It's going to be easy to root against him now, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Andrew Friedman, Dodgers president of baseball operations, said that Roki said his goal is to be the first Japanese pitcher to win a Cy Young award. And I'll say this. I didn't realize that there hadn't been one. There's been a lot of really good Japanese pitchers who have come over, who have gotten a lot of Cy Young votes. Obviously, Yu Darvish is a Cy Young runner-up. I hadn't realized that, Ichiro's won an MVP, but no Japanese pitcher has ever won a Cy Young award.
Sure.
And now I really, really would love to see Yu Darvish win one before. I know later in his career, probably a little, would be a surprise, but I think you could have one great season left in him. And, hey, let's steal that away from Roki Sasaki this year by becoming the first Japanese pitcher to win a Cy Young award.
Let's just beat him every time he takes the mound against you. He's obviously got a wealth of talent. And he's a good pitcher, and he's with an organization that we'll see how they develop him, and there's no guarantees in this game, as you guys know, so we'll see what happens. But I just can't let him consume my thoughts anymore. I thought yesterday was garbage. I thought it was a chance to take an unnecessary shot. And again, you see more gaslighting from the national media, if you want to call Ben Verlander that, saying the Padres really screwed themselves with their ownership, or the Padres really screwed themselves with their ownership drama. And many people made the point, yes, Ben, we're very sorry that our owner passed away unexpectedly at the time. How awful are we that our owner passed away? So, I think we're all sensitive to it, hypersensitive to it, I think, as we should be. But I'm kind of over the gaslighting for the national media.
I've got a couple more Dodgers thoughts we can get to. There's also some breaking football news involving the Cowboys and a new coach.
Really?
And we can.
Do I know this person?
You do? You probably are not going to be overly impressed. Well, I'll say it right now. Paulie just showed me. Brian Schottenheimer is in final negotiations to become the new Barney's son. Yeah.
The head football coach?
The head football coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh.
There's nothing Jerry doesn't like if it's not a legacy football name, right?
That is wild.
Like Schottenheimer.
Wonder what the reaction is in Big D today.
So we can talk about that as well. Right now, though, we're going to check traffic and then play a little real or fake.
From the 855 some are here for the compelling sports talk with Ben and Woods.
Yeah, you can go plow through another donut.
It's time for Real or Fake on 97.3 The Fan. Tell the people what they'll win today.
Up for grabs. If you can get 4 out of 7 right in Real or Fake, will qualify you for the chance to win our grand prize, a trip to Las Vegas to see the Scorpions on August 14th now, plus a 2-night stay at Planet Hollywood and a $100 gas card. Scorpions returning. Their 60 years of the Scorpions Las Vegas residency show live August 14th through the 23rd at PH Live at Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, and I believe we have Rod on the line, ready to play a little Real or Fake. Good morning, Rod.
Hey, good morning, Ben. Good morning, Paulie. Good morning, Mr. Senor Woods. How you guys doing this
Hey,
morning?
Rod.
How you doing, man? All right, so let's get you qualified. This is actually a category that came from the chat last week. And I thought, okay, let's give this a try because I didn't know all the answers. We are a couple days away from the Chinese New Year celebration. 2024, Woods, was the year of the dragon.
Ooh.
2025 will be the year of the snake. Personality traits including enigmatic, intelligent, and wise. Today on Real or Fake, I will name an animal. You need to tell me if it's a real member of the Chinese zodiac calendar or a fake I have thrown in to fool you. You understand the rules, Rod?
Yes, I do. Let's get the show on the road and shout out
All
to
right,
the
Frankie is our judge back at the Odyssey Studios. Round number 1, here we go. Real or Fake Chinese zodiac. The year of the goat, real or fake?
Oh, that's real right there.
It is real. Wow. Year of the goat. That's 1 for 1. All right, let's go to round number 2. Year of the sheep. Real or fake?
Ooh, I'm going to say it sounds fake to me. What do you think, Wood?
I think fake also, buddy.
Let's do it.
Fake is the answer, and fake is correct. That's 2 for 2. We are on a roll here. All right, let's go with year of the cat. Year of the cat. Real or fake?
Oh, man, that one sounds pretty real. I don't remember seeing the year of the cat recently.
Me neither, buddy.
Eating Chinese food.
Right, yeah, that's what I was thinking of too. I don't think so. Let's say fake.
Yeah, let's say no. Let's go fake.
Yeah, fake. You're the cat.
I'm losing my touch.
You
I
are
used to be
losing
better
your
at
touch.
this. All right,
Yes.
that's 3 for 3.
Too easy to read.
All you need is one more answer correct, and you have qualified. Let's go year of the rat. Year of the rat. Real or fake, Rod?
Man, that one is so real. I mean, I think
It's
they were
100%
even,
real.
hanging
Yeah, that's a
banners
sweep.
in L.A.
Give him the
that's
ding.
it.
Give him
That's
the
it.
ding. Yes. I didn't realize you knew your Chinese zodiac sign so well.
Nobody knows it
What's
better.
the year of the dog?
Fake.
That's real.
No.
Year of the rooster.
Real.
That's real.
Yep.
And year of the cow.
Real.
Fake.
Damn it.
Well, I should have put those ones earlier. We would have had a more dramatic game. You know what? No stress for Rod. He qualifies for our grand prize drawing. Good luck, Rod. Frankie will get all your information if he has not already. Congratulations. We will come back with another game of Take on Woods tomorrow to wrap up the week.
If you were a Rodney, would you go by Rodney or Rod?
I think I'd go with the full.
Would you?
Rodney.
Rodney Higgins.
Rodney.
I think I would
Rodney
go like,
Dangerfield.
Yeah. Rod.
There's Rod Beck. He was cool. I like Shooter.
Yeah,
Shooter
was
when
cool.
He filled in. Trevor's here, but they had that season where Trevor was out, and they needed Shooter to be the closer for the Padres. He lived in a trailer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just was ready to do anytime they needed. Just knock on the door of the trailer, and Shooter would come in for the save.
Rod Stewart. Yeah.
Rod Serling
Rod
from
Serling.
the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I think I would go with Rod. It's very porno-y to me. It is.
That's probably why I wasn't going to go
okay.
with it.
That's why. No, it's no
Rod
Ben
Hawkins.
Stevens.
Rod. Hot Rod.
Stop. I can't. I have to drive home with
You
him
want to
tomorrow.
hear him say it?
Fishing rod.
Fishing rod. I have to drive home with him tomorrow.
Rod and reel.
Have fun, buddy.
He's going to be pointing. You're going to have a nice, peaceful, relaxing drive.
There's also Roderick. It's not just Rodney.
That's true.
It's also Roderick.
Roderick.
Yeah.
Rod Tidwell.
How much Rod Tidwell, the fictitious wide receiver, Jerry Maguire? How long do you need me for? I would like to get my knee worked on for a second, if that's okay.
You can get your knee worked on for a second. You got one more segment.
Oh, I got one more segment.
One more. We'll make it short. We'll come back. I want to talk a little bit more about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll also have some Don't Do This as well in the final hour of Ben and Woods Fantasy Camp on a Thursday on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, final hour of Ben and Woods on a Thursday morning. Welcome back. We are still live in Peoria, Arizona. A little bit warmer today, I think, outside. Just a fraction.
So?
It was very cold the first couple of days, for sure.
It's a little bit. It's in the 50s.
It's not. I mean, it's definitely not Arizona. It's not like 85 or anything, but I think we're getting into the mid-60s today, at least, which is a little bit nicer. Morning meeting is just emerging. Players and coaches coming out of the Padres clubhouse here. We will be letting Paulie and Woods get out to their games after this next segment, as it's a big day for both of you. Well, not really for your team, Woods.
Nope.
You're locked into the seventh place game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Paulie, your team at 3-3 is in a 5-way tie for second place.
Yeah, I
Which
don't know
means-
that we can jump to the championship game. I think
Maybe the third place game.
we have all
is-
the tiebreakers over the teams below us. So, there's no chance
can't
that we
fall
can play in the
into
last
lower game, but you might not be able to. What are the tiebreakers? Runs scored, runs allowed,
head-to-head record,
Head-to-head.
and then run differential.
Yeah.
Your favorite thing in the world.
And
But,
today, no doubleheader. Just one game today.
Yeah. One
Not
nine-inning game.
innings,
Yeah.
machine pitch. So no one has to throw any pitches today. Everyone gets to be rested up for tomorrow's championship Friday.
I'm going 3 innings tomorrow.
Paulie's going to be ready for it.
I have to start
You gonna pitch tomorrow as well?
Bro, I
It's
had to do
27
that-
degrees.
I had to do that last year in the 7 a.m. game. Freezing cold.
Freezing.
Fresh off the rate, no time to warm up. You just get out there. It's so cold. There's still frost on the field, and they're like, hey, you're pitching. You're like, oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I'll see you guys when I'm done.
And then, you should be here before the end of the show.
Yeah.
Those games do go pretty quickly. So there might be, if I'm in the next game after you, there might be a little overlap where I'm heading out and you're coming back in. But
yeah, I'm going to be the
Ben's
closer.
biggest fears.
Yeah, not that you're both playing against each other in that early
Yeah.
game.
Don't have to worry
seems
about
to
that.
Not be
we're
a
good.
concern, fortunately.
We'll be
So,
good. You'll get one.
and then we'll be back in studio next week.
Yep.
And spring training starts, pitchers and catchers report on February 12th, and then we will be back out here late in the month of February for a few shows from Padres spring training when we'll talk to the real guys getting ready for the
What do you mean the real
2025
guys?
season. Yeah, the real guys, not any fantasy campers.
No, it's been fun, man. Seeing Jackson here every day is great. He's out here getting his work in.
Just saw Morajon go out to throw a pen.
Morajon's out throwing a pen. Yeah, it's always interesting. Be interesting to see what they do with some of the guys and see what guys maybe potentially could get a shot at earning a job this spring training. I mean, I think there are definitely some opportunities. I hear a lot of people talking about Tirso Ornelas, Ben, as a potential guy that could come and hit, for this team. He's been hitting, so there's going to be an opportunity at DH. There's going to be an opportunity in left field. There's going to be an opportunity behind the dish.
Eggie's still
still
around,
here.
too. He's
Yeah,
going to get an opportunity.
Eggie's going to get
I
a
would
shot
think.
as well.
He's hit left-handed pitching at the big league level to a very high level.
Yep.
It's the problem is against obviously righties.
Sure.
It's tough to have just the platoon guy against the lefties.
Exactly.
With a roster spot, especially if you're going to rely on him, every day for a designated hitter. So we'll see if any guys have taken that, step up during the offseason and come back and, make a leap. Guys do all the time. That's part of this game of baseball as well.
This team, as most teams, you need guys like Jackson Merrill, right? That see an opportunity, they seize it, and they make the most of it. And, you have them for years where you don't have to pay them millions and millions of dollars. And so, you do have to promote from within. You do have to develop players. And I'd love to see the Padres do that more and help out that big league roster. But, yeah, I mean, there's going to be opportunity there. Who wants it?
You go back a year ago, I mean, it was like a punchline. Jackson Merrill is going to be our starting center fielder.
I know.
And from all accounts that I've heard, he literally didn't even know he was going to be on the roster until, the morning they left for Korea.
Day of. Are we sure we want to do this?
That's crazy.
I mean,
to see what kind of season he ended up having.
Yeah, you hate to look at it this way, but he really bailed them out. He bailed them out of a really tough spot by being an excellent baseball player and rising to the challenge. So we need more of that.
So speaking of opportunities, another little bit of information that came out yesterday. We were talking about Roki Sasaki and his introduction to the Dodgers is that with all the signings the Dodgers have done this offseason,
they have a surplus.
They're running out of roster spots and are going to need to clear some space on their 40-man roster. Now, most teams, they let go of the guy who, 40th man is probably a minor leaguer who's never even had an opportunity, and it's maybe he'll turn into something, maybe he won't. The Dodgers' 40th man right now is probably veteran relief pitcher Ryan Brazier, who's, good arm in the bullpen. They don't have enough spots for the talented multi-million-dollar players.
$4.5 million. Yeah.
$4.5 million a year. So, instead of releasing these guys, they're now quickly scouring the trade market to see if there is interest around the league. But, that will create some opportunities as the Dodgers try to figure out how to stuff all of these high-priced acquisitions onto their roster. And, of course, Woods, they may not be done. In fact, they almost certainly aren't done based on comments from Andrew Friedman. It sounds like, Clayton Kershaw's return is pretty much a foregone conclusion. He has not yet thrown off a mound in the rehab, but is continuing to work his way back and expects to pitch in the 2025 season. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. Clayton Kershaw turned down a $10 million player option that he could have. All he had to do was say yes. And they had to pay him $10 million. He can keep rehabbing just like he's doing now with all the facilities of the Los Angeles Dodgers. If he signs for one penny under $10 million, I am going to throw an absolute fit. And Major League Baseball really needs to launch an investigation. You can't have a team like the Dodgers just like getting players for less. Like what did they have on Clayton Kershaw? Why didn't he just take his $10 million and say, I'll be back next year for my $10 million? It's a very reasonable price for a guy of that level
caliber
of experience, and that's fine. So
it's not against the rules or anything, It may not seem.
The players' union won't like it. Players' union will pitch a fit.
Look, man.
They'll probably call it innovative. And
yeah. Well, look, Roki Sasaki not taking the full posting amount. Teoscar,
it's not a great thing either.
And so we do hear a lot about players going, "Hey, man, we're trying to set the market here. We're trying to get the most we can from these owners."
Kershaw knows that.
He's been
around the game for 30 years.
Yeah, he's been around forever, man. He knows that. But
come on.
And then the flip side of that coin is, well, he's earned it. He's earned the right to do and do whatever he wants and take whatever money he wants. If he wants to play for the minimum, he's earned that right to. And that's kind of the unfortunate part. But yeah, there's nothing the front office or the commissioner's office is going to do about that. Nothing at all. And I don't know that they should. It doesn't make sense on paper. It doesn't make sense in the world. But we've seen it in our business. We've seen it in our business. Yeah, I don't need a contract. No, I'll do it for this. And it's like, oh, cool. Well, you're really screwing the rest of us over. But they don't care. They want a job. And he doesn't want to pitch anywhere else. He could get a free agent contract and go pitch anywhere else.
You know what? If you were going into free agency and that was what was most important to you, I understand that. I really do. Guys take less to play in markets where they want to be all the time. That's not uncommon. San Diego has often been the beneficiary of that. What bothers me, though, is he had the option. If he knew he wanted to return to the Dodgers,
just take the option.
Why didn't you just take the option? What is going on that you're gaming the system that you're not taking the option to come back if you already knew you wanted to come back?
Yeah, and I promise you, whatever he signs for.
It feels like theater.
It's eyewash. It's what it is. It's all a bunch of eyewash.
Unnecessary.
We've built such a culture. Guys will play here for free. That's the eyewash.
I don't know.
And I don't know
why it's going to bother me so much.
Ben, look at Jack Flaherty right now. Jack Flaherty, if asked, would cut the grass at Dodger Stadium to get a contract again. Joe Kelly said he'd rather retire than play anywhere else. Okay? So that should speak about what they have, when you talk about what they have over the players want to be there. But if you ask Jack Flaherty to literally go out and mow the grass and we'll give you a contract, you'd see him out there whistling Dixie, just woo-doo-doo-doo-doo, cutting the grass, having no problem, no trouble whatsoever.
Plenty of guys definitely do not want to give up. We were talking to Greg Garcia earlier, so the game kind of told him it was time. But there are guys, I saw Rich Hill is planning he wants to come back, and this time he wants to pitch all year.
All right.
And he
look forward to that.
Didn't have much of one last year, but he is not ready to call retirement. Jesse Chavez, reliever in his 40s, also
Bro, that guy's still getting outs, Jesse Chavez.
He is.
It's crazy.
It's been a couple of years since Rich Hill has gotten anybody, but he is out there on the market. And
did he
looking for pitching?
Maybe Andy Ashby can pitch for the Padres next year.
Did Rich Hill record a single out for the San Diego Padres? I failed to remember one single out.
No, and then last year he had another season where he didn't record an out for the
was it the Red Sox? Yeah.
I think.
Buddy, just go throw adult ball. I'll get you a spot every Sunday. I'll let you hit, too. I'll play first, whatever you want.
Want to give it up.
He just doesn't want to give it up. I don't blame him.
He's closer to Randy Jones's age than a lot of the
That's
prospects
true.
that we've got here at Fantasy Camp.
Happy 75th,
Rich Hill
by
wants
the
to,
way, Randy Jones. You look great for 75.
3/4 of 1 century. Sit down, Randy.
Sit down. Yeah, grab a seat, buddy.
Say hello.
hello.
Paulie, turn your mic on here. Was yesterday was the day or today's the day? What's the day?
Oh, 12th, January 12th.
January 12th. So last week.
I was at the rodeo.
Were you?
How'd you like that?
Of course, man. I got to go to the rodeo for my birthday. It was fun, man. We had a good time.
That's
congratulations,
yeah.
buddy.
No, it's good. I got up this morning, man, and I brushed my teeth. And remember when I used to be a fine-tuned V8 engine, right?
Yeah.
Well, I finished brushing my teeth. I felt like a 4-cylinder with a bad spark plug.
Like an old lawnmower?
I mean, yeah. And it won't start. And that's me.
Is it one of those pull cords?
yeah. God dang it, But, no. Yeah, I'm amazed, 75 years old, I'm still out here.
Still out here kicking.
I love it.
I don't think it would be fantasy camp if you weren't out
It
here.
wouldn't, man.
Yeah,
you got to keep coming every year.
So many years, and
Yep.
I was so excited when Tom Sadler, I went to him and I go, we got to start up fantasy camp again. And he jumped right into it, and I just loved it, guys. It's been so much fun.
We've loved having you, hearing your stories last night about absolutely dominating Pete Rose. Was one of the highlights of fantasy camp for me. I've been to every single one in the last 6 years, and those stories are great. Your stories are always great.
Well, you know what's amazing though. I think about the 3 Cy Young Award winners we had up there. And like I said, I watched both of them pitch. I was here.
Yeah, very complimentary.
I watched the whole year, and it was amazing. And I listened to what they had to say. But I was in the 70s.
Yep.
And by All-Star break, I was already making plans for October. I was setting up hunting trips and stuff.
You knew there was going to be
there's no
extra baseball.
We didn't have a chance, man.
It's
and they always did. And that's one thing I did miss.
Yeah.
Like I've always said, you could have my Cy Young Award.
Give me October.
If you let me pitch one October game.
Oh, it's such a
So I know what I'd love to see what I was made of. Could I really do that? I'm me. I could. But
we know.
I never got that chance, and I'd love to have that opportunity. I really would.
No, it's a bummer. It bums me out
Yeah,
because
I'm glad that more teams get the chance now.
Yeah, but somebody's got to start the franchise. It's part to be part of it.
Yep.
It wasn't that pretty. There
were some rough years.
We could do a whole show if you want stories on this. It's like I had a perfect game against the Reds one day, into the 8th inning, top of the 8th. I had a perfect game going against the Reds, a big red machine. Tony Perez leads off the 8th. And second pitch, it's a routine ground ball to Hector Torres at short. Hector throws it about 10 rows up.
There goes that.
There goes that. Right? He goes to second base. Anyway, I get 2 more outs. Still got the no-hitter.
Yeah.
And so they pinch hit Bill Plummer, the backup catcher for bench. He pinched. And I jammed the hell out of him with a slider. And he hits a little duck fart right over Tito Flynn's head for a base hit. And Tony Perez scores that one. Isn't that just nice?
Did you lose the game?
No, I won.
You won the game.
I won 2-1.
At least you won.
God.
At least you won.
Thank God.
That's just one little day in the 70s,
one little
man.
day in the San Diego Padres.
If you guys need to fill some time, let me know. I'll come up.
I got to get these 2 out to the field, though. So, Randy, good to see you. Happy
Great
birthday.
day, boys.
As
Love you,
always,
man.
Randy Jones,
Always
the
great to
left-hander.
have you here, man.
Cy Young Award winner. Woodsy, you got one more spot for us,
Yeah,
and
buddy.
then we'll come back with a little Don't Do This.
Well, listen, if you are in the market for a new vehicle, highly recommend Manny Sedano Ford. Their incredible New Year deals have been extended. Every 24 models got to go. As you guys know, Ford has been in my family my whole life. My grandfather worked in the factory. I understand quality and loyalty. Proud veteran Manny Sedano understands value. It's exactly why I recommend Sedano Ford. Right off the 8 in La Mesa, the deals are unbeatable. You can get the all-electric 2024 Mustang Mach-E Select, just $89 a month. If you're ready for an adventure, jump into the 24 Bronco Sport Big Ben, just $239, or step up to the 4x4 for just $50 more a month. If you're looking for legendary power, the F-150 Lightning is yours for just $199 a month. These prices, inventory is moving fast. The time is now. Your veteran-owned Sedano Ford in La Mesa, coming today. Let them know Woodsy sent you. Deals won't last. On approved credit, visit SedanoFord.com for more complete details.
guys.
You idiot. You moron.
You dumbass.
The apple sometimes does fall from the tree.
Don't do this
Do not tweet that.
with Ben and Woods
I like a Nickelback song or two.
on 97.3 The Fan.
Back here at the Padres Spring Complex in Peoria. We're at Padres Fantasy Camp. Paulie and Woods going off to play their game today. I've got Italian Paul, Frank Marchese, back in the studio for these last couple of segments. Going to help me out, including with some Don't Do This. How you doing this morning, Frankie?
Doing good, especially since I remembered to put your mic up to start this segment this time.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to get a couple of NFL stories for us here on DDT. We'll start with a bit of confusion involving Houston running back Joe Mixon, who was at first issued a $25,000 fine by the NFL based on comments that turned out weren't his comments at all. A Sports Illustrated piece quoted Joe Mixon as saying that, why play the game if every 50-50 call is going to go with the Chiefs? These officials are trash and biased. And based on those comments that were published in Sports Illustrated, they fined Joe Mixon $25,000. As a player, you're not allowed to directly criticize refs. At the very most, you can kind of, beat around the bush a little bit. Coaches and players, though, in any professional sport, they know that that's a no-no. Here's the problem. That wasn't what Joe Mixon said. That was TJ Houshmandzadeh, who just posted that on social media, and Sports Illustrated messed up and quoted Joe Mixon about and attributed to him. So NFL said, okay, we rescind the fine. But then the NFL heard what Joe Mixon actually did say after the game. And here's what he did say. This is an actual Joe Mixon quote. He said, everybody knows how it is playing up here. You can never leave it in the ref's hands. The whole world sees, man, what it is. When it comes down to it, you can never leave it into the ref's hands. It's all good, though. So he kind of beat it around the bush a little bit, but not enough for the NFL's liking, which then yesterday reinstated the $25,000 fine that they had originally given him for TJ Houshmandzadeh's social media post. So in the end, Joe Mixon, $25,000 lighter, although the actual comments were quite a bit more tame than the ones that he was originally fined for that he didn't say.
I have an idea for the NFL. Now, this might be a radical idea, but actually have your officials call the game properly. Maybe because that would eliminate players calling out the officials for not officiating the game properly.
Do you have a problem with what Patrick Mahomes did?
Absolutely.
Taking a dive, trying to draw a foul. I mean, we see it in soccer all the time.
Yeah, people can't watch soccer because people dive, but they'll flock to Kansas City games.
You see flops in basketball. Are you telling me that if you were a Chiefs fan and it ended up being the difference between winning a playoff game and losing a playoff game, anybody is unhappy about Patrick Mahomes at least giving it a try in that scenario?
I mean, it depends on how obvious and embarrassing it is. Even when you're getting called out by Troy Aikman, who I don't like those two, I've never have. But when Troy Aikman is sitting there calling you out as a Super Bowl winning quarterback, calling you out for intentionally not going out of bounds in order to draw a penalty, flopping like a dope on the sidelines, I'm sorry, something's got to be done. And at least that's... The NFL, for all of its faults, has done a lot better as far as the national media is concerned with calling out the Chiefs and calling out this nonsense as compared to what the national media has done with the Dodgers. The national media in baseball is fawning all over themselves to get to the Dodgers, where the national media in the NFL isn't afraid to call what they see. And it's getting to a point of it's so obvious now, it's getting embarrassing.
Well, as you can imagine, Patrick Mahomes disagrees when asked about the favorable calls. He said yesterday, I don't feel that way. At the end of the day, the referees are doing their best to call the game as fair and as proper as they possibly can. All you can do out there is play the game that you love as hard as you can and live the results. But he was even a little like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done the whole flopping thing. That was a bit much. All right, story number 2 for DDT. Saw this one from Philadelphia where I had to roll my eyes. The Philadelphia Eagles are selling to their own fans snow in a snowstorm. Yeah, they're selling actual snow from their Lincoln Financial Field win over the Los Angeles Rams in the divisional round of the playoffs. For, get this, $50. You can order a canister of snow that was taken from the field. They got a little label on it. It says, Eagles 28, Rams 22, Lincoln Financial Field playoff snow. They will ship it to you in dry ice to make sure, you don't end up with a can of water at the end of this process. And if you are truly a diehard Eagles fan, you can own that for $50. Quote, this item isn't just memorabilia. It's a story of passion, perseverance, and a team's journey to the NFC Championship for the second time in 3 years. As you know, Frankie, I am not someone who spends a dime on memorabilia, but this has to be the dumbest purchase ever. Even if you're a diehard Eagles fan and you were there, you're buying snow. And secondly, it's not even from like a championship game or a Super Bowl. This is divisional playoff snow. No one even remembers who you beat in the divisional round on the way to winning the Super Bowl if you eventually do. And if you don't win the Super Bowl, who cares that you have snow when you ended up losing in the NFC Championship game the next week? I can't believe anybody is actually shelling out their hard-earned money to buy a little canister of snow from Lincoln Financial Field.
If you are an idiot that is willing to pay $50 for a jar of water, you should not be allowed to use money.
No, they put it on dry ice, so it's saying snow, Frank. Of course,
it's
not
gonna
going to melt.
Yeah, because I'm gonna keep buying dry ice to make sure the snow stays snow for the next 50, 60 years. If you pay $50 for a jar of water, you should have your money privileges revoked. I'm sorry. I've paid for a lot of stupid things in my life. I paid for a Topps card with a raccoon on it. I'm not paying $50 for a bottle of water.
All right, finally a little do this on a Thursday.
DD Mega Doo-Doo.
And I was going to give some congratulations here to a local athlete. USD baseball pitcher Austin Smith has been named a preseason second-team All-American based on D1 baseball, so something to look forward to this year in college baseball in San Diego. But you know what? I'm throwing that out the window. I want to talk about you for just a second, Frankie. If you've been following along, you've heard Frank talk about his stomach sleeve surgery that you had.
Yeah, stomach sleeve.
Can you give us an update on your weight loss? Because you look fantastic. I can see on our YouTube stream right now. Where are you at right now?
I am at 295, so that is 101 pounds. The surgery was 3 months ago tomorrow, and the process started about 3.5 months ago. So, yeah.
I am so happy for you. I knew
you.
This was a huge life decision and big thing.
You're not kidding.
It's like this isn't just a tiny commitment. This is an absolute 100% life change. How good do you feel now, though, really?
Oh, I feel great. I feel absolutely fantastic. Awesome. I still feel fat because I'm still looking fat in my clothes, but I have to remind myself that my clothes are 2 sizes smaller now than they were a couple months ago. But yeah, I'm feeling really good. I'm really happy I did it. Really, really happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You get a big do this here on a Thursday.
Thanks,
Frankie.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we'll come back. I want to update you on the Farmers Insurance Open because, when I'm here, I get to talk a little bit of golf. But some comments, friend of the show, Charlie Hoffman, made yesterday. And I'm not going to rip Charlie, although I disagree with him pretty strongly. We'll talk a little golf, and I think we're going to bring back our conversation with Terry Kennedy. Really fun this morning, having TK sitting down with us and talking with me and Woods and Paul from Fantasy Camp. We'll get to all of that. First, though, want to tell everybody about Trust and Will. Woodsy and I both went through the process during our holiday break. Neither of us had made any of our wishes known. And we're both turning 50 this year, but we just put it off like so many people do. It's not something you want to necessarily think about. And I didn't actually even realize it was that important. Figure I don't have that much to leave. Not going to be a big deal. Actually, it is a big deal because if you die without a will, that's called dying intestate. And the state actually decides your legacy. In fact, they could end up deciding what happens with your kids if you don't actually make your wishes known. So It's very simple when you go to trustandwill.com to set up your legal documents, whether it's a trust, a will, lay out some bequeaths, what you want to happen, not just your assets, but the important decisions in life that you can make early. So go to trustandwill.com, start the process. It really only took me, 15, 20 minutes. You can be more detailed, you can be less detailed, and just go with some of the standard choices, but just get it done. And when you go and sign up, make sure you use the code San Diego, all one word, San Diego, whether you're setting up a trust or a will. You're going to get 10% off and free shipping of all your estate documents when you go to trustandwill.com. So make sure you use that code San Diego at checkout and get some peace of mind in your life. It really is not that expensive. It's really easy to do, and you'll be surprised how good you feel about just having that done and not having to worry about it. Again, go to trustandwill.com. That's trustandwill.com. Final segment of Ben and Woods brought to you by Robert Half. 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half here to help. They're recruiting professionals utilizing award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today. I want to talk a little bit about the Farmers Insurance Open. Second round is now underway at Torrey Pines, north and south course. Ludwig Oberg, the first-round leader, has shot a 9 under 63 on the north yesterday. Tees off in just under an hour on the tougher south course today. One of the other bigger names in on a sponsor's exemption, Ryder Cup captain Zach Johnson is 7 under now. He birdied his first hole in the south after a 6 under on the north course yesterday. Hideki Matsuyama is at 4 under after playing the south yesterday. He'll play the easier north today. And, there's a couple of other decent names. Tony Finau is playing in the tournament. Sahith Theegala. And local Charlie Hoffman was 2 under yesterday, and I think qualifies as one of the bigger names in the tourney this year. And that's quite the change from, a decade or so ago when Torrey Pines really was one of the premier events, I think, on the PGA Tour calendar, with Tiger Woods coming in every single year on winning almost every single year, 7-time champion of this event. Ratings were huge, and it was a great tournament. It still is a great tournament put on by the Century Club and the organizers. I was watching yesterday. The views are gorgeous. I mean, it is just such a dream to be out at Torrey Pines as a spectator. But the field is nothing like it used to be. There's only a handful of the top players in the world who make it to Torrey Pines every year. And Charlie Hoffman, who I love, and we've had on the show before, and I know he goes on with Gwen and Chris a lot. And I'm not gonna rip Charlie here. And I will give him absolutely every opportunity to kind of explain himself. But he was quoted yesterday about what's kind of happened with the weakening of the field the past few years. And here's what he had to say. Charlie said, the answer, I think, is the community of San Diego took for granted that Tiger Woods virtually showed up every single year at this event, the best player in the world, and competed to win almost every time he played here. We took it for granted. Now, a lot of these tournaments, if you had Tiger Woods 2 or 3 times through the history of the event, they would be happy. We had Tiger Woods each and every year, and we may have taken it for granted. And I don't quite understand what Charlie meant by that. I don't feel like San Diego ever took Tiger Woods for granted. I mean, they showed up. The crowds were huge to watch Tiger Woods. And he didn't stop coming to Torrey Pines because he was being taken for granted. He couldn't play golf. He was hurt. He was in car accidents. He had surgeries. He had spinal fusion surgery and couldn't make it. And couldn't make it around the golf course anymore. That's why Tiger Woods stopped coming down to Torrey Pines, not because he was taken for granted. In my mind, what's really happened at Torrey Pines is some really bad luck, some really maybe questionable decisions by the PGA Tour. First and foremost, now because of the NFL's longer season, instead of having that great prime spot in the weekend between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl, they now play on conference championship week. And because they don't want to go up against the 2 games on Sunday in the NFL, and CBS has, one of them, and they broadcast the tournament, now the tournament starts on a Wednesday and ends on a Saturday. Well, obviously you're going to have less people be able to attend on Wednesday and Thursday versus, Saturday and Sunday. That's just logistically a bigger challenge. And, you've got players who are going to make the decision, hey, I just finished a tournament on Sunday in the desert. I don't want to start another tournament in 3 days, so they make the decision to take the week off. And then the PGA Tour decides to elevate certain events, including the one at Pebble Beach the following week where everyone has to play. And it kind of they've made the decision easy, unfortunately, for many of the tour stars. And they go, I'd love to play Torrey. It's a fantastic course. I just can't work it into a reasonable schedule anymore. It's the only week that makes sense for me to take off here on the West Coast. So I got to take it off to make sure my game is in shape. And that has nothing to do with Tiger, has nothing to do with San Diego's apathy or taking Tiger for granted. It simply is a bunch of decisions that have all come together that have worked, I think, against this tournament at Torrey Pines, Frank.
No, I agree with that. And the way you laid it out, I think, was very accurate as to how things have changed. I don't necessarily think – I think the overall premise of what he said was right. I just don't think he used the right words for it. I don't think it's that San Diego took for granted that Tiger Woods came here every year. It's that – you get so used to seeing guys like that come in every single year, and then when they're not there, it's like, okay, well, now what's next?
Maybe the word is we got spoiled. We got spoiled with Tiger Woods in the field every year, and now it feels lesser than because he can't play and he's not there. It's not quite as big of a deal when Tiger isn't there.
And Liv doesn't help either. I mean, Liv took a lot of stars that would have come
John Rahm was a huge star who came here, and now he's no longer around. I like Ludwig Oberg. He said Torrey Pines is my favorite place on the planet. He's becoming new John Rahm as the European player who falls in love with Torrey Pines. And hopefully, I kind of want him to win and make this a stop every year because I think he's going to be a giant star on the PGA Tour. So, I'm kind of an Oberg fan this week and see if he can pull off the win at Torrey Pines. So, hey, they may get the big field if they move the Genesis Invitational from Riviera to Torrey Pines, as has been the rumor, has been the reporting this week. We may see all the big names. I wonder, will we see a different vibe and atmosphere at Torrey Pines if that is the case coming up next month? So it's just some thoughts that I had on the tournament.
It's like you're crashing back to earth. You're crashing back to reality. This is what it is. When Tiger's not here, this is what it is. And that's now you got to just adjust back to reality.
Quite frankly, it's what Padres fans are worried about. They love what's happened the last few years. They don't want to crash back to earth. They want to keep the party rolling.
I get it, but you're going to crash back to earth at some point.
Everybody
it's
does.
Bound to happen.
It's sports. Everybody does. We are going to check traffic. When we come back, had a chance to chat with Terry Kennedy, catcher from the 1984 National League Championship winning San Diego Padres. Had some great stories about Ricky Henderson, who he managed for the San Diego Surf Dogs back in the 2000s. Get to that to wrap things up right after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. I'm so glad to see that whatever tension and friction that went on last year when Woodsy started camp on Terry Kennedy's team and got traded, first ever fantasy camp trade last year in the middle of the week, seems to be past, because sitting down with us right now, former Padres catcher Terry Kennedy back with us here
Water
on
under the bridge.
97.3 The Fan.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah, that was all a joke. I got no problem with Woodsy.
I can't hit. I wasn't hitting, so I deserve to be
I think you have test anxiety.
I do.
Because you're awesome, and then you just put too much on yourself when the game starts, and sometimes you just don't. You have to not give a you-know-what.
That's it, man. The Boone told me the same thing yesterday, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to change that.
I was actually more worried about our relationship. Now, were you at the panel last night that I was moderating, or were you not in the room last night? This is okay. So now I have to admit what
confess.
So we had the three Cy Young Award winners: Randy, Mark Davis, and Jake Peavy, and we sat down like 45 minutes, and I did a Q&A. And one thing Woods wanted to know was like, which players did you failed? Were hard to get out, and which were the guys that you absolutely owned in your careers?
I contributed heavily to Mark Davis' Cy Young.
I did some research, and I had my own formula based on plate appearances and OPS. And
I think I was 1 for 14.
It turned out that pretty much the worst major leaguer ever against 1 for 21 is what I got in my research. Like the worst ever against Mark Davis was sitting right here, Terry Kennedy.
And the only hit was a bases loaded double with 3 ribbies, and I thought I owned him. And then I looked back and I said, "Oh, I struck out 14 times in 21 trips."
Well,
I couldn't see the ball.
He had that curveball.
No, I could not pick up spin, and then I would just start guessing. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna look for breaking balls, or I'm just gonna guess," and I just couldn't see.
I promise I wasn't trying to call you out, but I was looking at the numbers. You know who Randy owned was Pete Rose.
Pete Rose, man, about
183 average. He told a
something.
story about one time Pete came up left-handed to give it a try and took 3 strikes and sat back down in the dugout.
I faced Randy one time in New York when he was with the Mets. Bases loaded, he hit me for a ribby.
Did it
the
hurt?
Next time up,
did it hurt?
He threw a slider, and I saw it was going to hit me, and I didn't move, and I got another ribby because the base was loaded, and he starts screaming. He's not moving. I was 0 for 5 with 2.
2 RBI.
Yeah.
When I always love talking to catchers, so I always want to know: were you chatty behind the dish when you caught? Were you chatty with guys that came up to the plate?
Oh no, I would say hi if I knew the guy,
and that's it.
Yeah.
So you weren't one of those. All right, let's how about
Jake
a little
Taylor
heater?
behind the plate.
No. That was no. I didn't like it, so I didn't do it.
Right. It would be the worst. And I heard Gary Carter used to chit chat a lot and do stuff like that. Is that accurate that you remember?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And you know what? On the outside, when we saw Carter, you know, we go, oh, cameraman, you know, always smiling, cameraman, blah blah blah. You know, but then I played with him in San Francisco. Gary Carter was a great human being.
Yeah.
And I was heartbroken when he died.
Yeah.
And he was second to bench in that era to me.
Yeah, no doubt. What a great player.
It just shows you that, you know, when they're on the other side, you make judgments and they're wrong.
Isn't that the worst when you play against a guy for years and you're like, there's just something about him I don't like him. And then you get him on your team and you're like, oh, he's fantastic. And that's, you know, Jurickson Profar is a great example. I think Jurickson Profar, if you play with Jurickson Profar, you're like, he's the best teammate of all time. You play against him, you're like, I hate that guy. I'm going to drill him every
He's grown up a lot.
He has.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
I've watched him, and I scouted him, and he's grown a lot, which is great. You know, someone that can make the adjustments and mature. But, you know, the case you're talking about, anybody on the Dodgers, you hated them, but then when you played with him, you go, hey, they're not bad.
They're not too bad.
Talking to Terry Kennedy here, and TK, speaking of legends who we've lost, Ricky Henderson passed away recently, and you actually had that opportunity to manage Ricky when he played for the San Diego Surf Dogs at the end of his career. Give me something from that season because that was bizarre.
I got about 10 calls from people, and there's an article somebody in the Times, New York Times, wrote it, and it was very good. I can't remember the writer's name. But, you know, I knew Ricky from playing against him and seeing him, and I was wondering, you know, how's this going to work? You know, I was
nervous,
trepidatious. And so I sat down with him, and I said, okay, how much you want to play? You know, he goes, I don't want to play on Sunday. I said, are you going to show up? He goes, oh, yeah, I'll be there. But he goes, I'm not. I said, that's good. As long as you show up, I said, the players will understand. I said, you know, these guys, they don't know anything about big leaguers. I said, it's important. And so, well, what happened is Ricky was a different guy. And, you know, many times I wouldn't go because I didn't go out with the players. But, you know, he'd say, hey, after the game, you guys are with me. And he took care of all their bills.
Amazing.
You know, they go out, have a few drinks or go eat, and he picked it up. They loved him. One day I asked him I said, Ricky, you know, can you give me 20, 30 minutes and go through the base running, starting at first base and going around? He goes, oh, yeah, sure. So the whole team went out there, and I didn't know what to expect. But apparently he thought about this a lot because he was very linear, like he'd been on the coaching side for 20 years.
Right.
It was perfect.
Oh.
And the opposing team was in a dugout, and they're all over there leaning forward like this. I said, come on out. Come on
and listen to the goat.
And, man, I tell you,
that's so rad.
I said these guys just don't know what they're hearing right now. They don't understand how important this is. The greatest base runner in history, telling them how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and we got along, but the best story of all is one of the teams was here in Surprise, and ESPN was there that day. Well, he wasn't, and kept coming to the dugout to me and saying, are you going to put him in? I said, I don't know. I said, depends what happens in the game. So I finally said, Ricky, you pinch hit. You want to pinch hit right here? He says, yeah. He hit a home run while ESPN was filming.
Yeah, he had a knack for the dramatic.
Yeah, it was the final, cosmic thing that he did, and it was perfect, perfect.
So Terry probably doesn't remember this, but he managed Ricky Henderson. He also, for a couple of hours, managed yours truly. And you always wonder why I don't do fantasy camp. So the Surf Dogs, that league, they were always looking for a little media promotion, trying to get in front of the cameras. And they held a media tryout day. And I was still a fairly young television reporter, so Channel 10 sent me out to do the media tryout. He put us all through our paces, though. I remember, you made me throw from right field to third base. My arm almost fell off.
I would do anything for that.
It's the last day I ever played baseball in my life. I realized this is not for me anymore. So when I come here, I just sit here and play some golf and do some radio.
They set you guys up because I was going to make you pay, all those guys pay for what happened.
Apparently he has promised Tom Seidler, if the Padres ever win a championship, he'll actually come out and play the camp. I don't see him getting past the first day.
I don't know.
He's athletic. He can swing a golf club like nobody's business. He'll whip your ass on the golf course, but him running down to first base is a scene. It's a scene.
Well, you know what I've noticed here, and I finally put it together this year. Okay, because of everyone's age, maybe they're a 53-year-old, 54-year-old. Well, that time between 53 and 54 to campers is like between 21 and all of a sudden now you're 35. And, you just can't help it. It's not their fault.
It's true. 48 to 49 has been a huge jump for me.
They get ready for it. They tell me how much they prepare for
working.
this, and they have to. But you're just not – it's like I went to spring training in shape.
Yeah.
I was ready to play. But you're not ready for it. You're not ready for, catching 6-7 guys a day, and then they say, okay, you guys can go hit now. After catching 7 guys, you got no legs left, and your feet hurt from standing up, and that's the best comparison to this. And, just the standing around will kill you.
It will. And standing around in cleats all day hurts, man. My feet are killing me. It's the best. DK, you're the best, man. Thank you so much. Great Ricky Henderson stuff.
That was Terry Kennedy with Ben and Woods earlier this morning here at Padres Fantasy Camp. Always fun to chat with the campers. We got one more day of this tomorrow morning from 6 to 10, and then we'll head back to San Diego after the show. But it's been a lot of fun again this week. My second year coming out. Obviously, Paulie and Woods' 6th year out here. Just seems to be getting better and better each year. We got Annie and Elston coming up next. They'll talk about the Aztecs game last night, overtime drama against Airforce, and much more. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Thank you to Frank in the studio, all of us here at San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.